In this world, power decides who lives and who gets cast aside. I was born without mana, without a future. But everything changed when I faced death. In the depths of the abyss, something awakened within me. And now, everyone will pay the price. It was a common afternoon in the year 2326 at the front line of Mount Siwak's base. In the Samhan Empire, various soldiers were advancing in pursuit of a man who was fleeing, not understanding what he had done to deserve this. Even exhausted, he still tried to comprehend why they wanted to eliminate him in such a manner. As he ran through the dense trees, he heard someone shout, "Stop right now, Taiju!" Beyond the trees, he managed to see the sunlight, breaking through the horizon. Falling to the ground, he coughed violently, feeling the impact of his internal injuries worsening with each passing second. He had reached the end of the line, a cliff with no way out. The leader of the troops finally caught up to him, Second Lieutenant Taiju. "Running like this only worsens your condition. After all, you are someone on the brink of death, rejected by the mana." The one pursuing him was the commander of the frontline platoon of Mount Siwak 1st, Lieutenant Jung Indong, someone who had reached the initial stage among the awakened, surrounding him along with the other guards. The officer declared firmly, "You have nowhere to escape." In front of Taiju, the abyss seemed to have no bottom, as if swallowing all hope. Overcome by despair, Taiju shouted, "Why are you doing this to me?" Indong let out a brief sigh, breaking into a slight smile. "Do you really need to ask? Being a reject, you should just accept your fate." He slowly drew his sword, pointing it at Taiju. "How did you manage to survive until 29 years old, defying what was already set?" Hearing that someone was behind all this, Kim Taiju trembled slightly, asking, "Are you talking about Honda Mitsui?" Adjusting his glasses calmly, the first lieutenant replied, "Even as your stepmother, she is still your mother. Be careful with your words." Before Taiju could react, Indon moved forward without hesitation. The young man was startled, but there was no room for resistance. The lieutenant concluded everything in a single motion. Quinta and Ju were violently thrown back, hurled directly into the abyss, watching the fall. The officer smiled coldly, completing his mission. The two sons of Mitsui's law will inherit the territory of Paju. Farewell. 300 years earlier, on a certain day in the year 2026, the sun was obscured by an eclipse, and, at that moment, mana emerged on Earth. As a consequence, 90% of humanity disappeared. The climate changed drastically. Entire cities crumbled, and in a single moment, civilization collapsed. 300 years later, in the year 2326, the survivors finally began to adapt and rebuild the world. However, with the emergence of magical beasts and poisonous plants altered by mana, a new era of conflict began. As this war dragged on, a caste system based on mana affinity was established: awakened, compatible, adapted, and rejected. The protagonist's father was a high-level awakened, a true master, King Wang Bang, a respected brigade general. He, despite being the eldest son, was someone rejected by mana, destined to slowly succumb to the influence of this useless energy. Incapable burden. These were some of the words constantly directed at Quinta and Ju in a plane beyond the world, where galaxies moved slowly. A voice echoed, "Haha, I worked so hard to achieve immortality, but looking closely, this doesn't seem like paradise. It looks more like a strange mix between my clan and completely bizarre things." Observing the earthly world from that elevated plane, the old man licked his tongue, clearly disturbed. "What place is this, and what are these things? Can you tell me?" In front of him was Kim Tae-ju. Below his left shoulder was the deep mark of a blow. Half conscious, he wondered if he was still alive. As he lifted his gaze with difficulty, he saw an old man slowly walking toward him. The man extended his hand, enveloping him in a restorative energy, lifting his body to face him directly. The elder who watched him with interest was the ancient supreme lord of poison, Tang Gun AC, patriarch of the Tang clan from Sichuan, the absolute pinnacle of poisonous arts and hidden weapons. When the demonic cult dominated Jianggu, he defeated the so-called celestial demon, leader of the cult, using only his mastery over poison. Thus, he became an absolute master of Murium, And unexpectedly, it was he who shared the same soul with Quinta and Ju during their quest for ascension. In his final years, his soul ended up connecting with that of the young one at the moment they recognized each other. Memories began to flow into Taiju. He murmured, "Tanganak, you are me." The old man with white hair smiled slightly. "So these are your memories." Recalling the name of the young one, Quinta and Ju, he continued, "You are my version in this world. We share the same essence. Still, even with this potential, you have been disregarded because of the limitations placed upon you." Tangan quickly understood. That was the young man's mental refuge. They were one and the same, and he knew this clearly. "With my experience and the knowledge you already possess, if you use this properly, you can become a supreme master in this world." A vast energy began to flow into the body of Quinta and Ju, coming from all directions, as if the universe itself responded to the call. The old man's voice became distant and ethereal. While instructing him, "Use this power to live as you wish. I wish you good luck in the battles in Taiju." The protagonist awakened from the strange encounter, his body completely stained with red. He opened his eyes with difficulty. All the knowledge remained in his mind, now combined with that of Tangam. AC, Quinta, and Ju dug their fingers into the dry ground and clenched their teeth, consumed by intense determination. "If I want to survive, I need to master the martial art that made Tangunak become a supreme master, the technique that transforms poison into power, the art of the primordial poisonous spirit, formless." Fortunately, small poisonous plants grew close to the spot where he had fallen. Without hesitation, he pulled them from the ground and brought them to his mouth, consuming them to survive. By converting the poison into internal energy, he would form his poisonous dantian, the absolute essence of toxic power. The energy coursed through his body like lightning, breaking, shattering invisible limits. His eyes filled with determination as a new goal emerged in his heart. "I will change the fate of a rejected one. I will rebuild my body, survive, and make everyone answer for their actions, starting with you, Jung Indong." When night fell, the group sent by Jung Indong began to search the forest below the cliff for the body of Quinta and Ju. The first lieutenant, visibly irritated, shouted, "Why are you taking so long? Find him!" It was not just Quinta and Ju. It didn't take long for the guards to find the young man sitting on the ground and, to everyone's surprise, still alive. One of the soldiers commented cautiously, "Sir, the aura he exudes seems strange. Is this some kind of human reaction?" Around Quinta and Ju, a greenish energy similar to the essence of nature itself. He rotated slowly as if he were the silent center of a storm. This was not mana, but the essence of the poison he had accumulated within himself. Jung Indong frowned in discomfort. How could a mere reject do something like this? What are they waiting for? Quickly, eliminate him before this becomes a problem. One of the guards advanced, wielding his sword. The blade came down towards the young man with closed eyes, who opened them at the last moment upon sensing the approach. A side punch, surrounded by the poisonous essence, struck the sword accurately, sending it flying into a tree. The first lieutenant and the other guards gulped as they witnessed that display of power. Taiju himself observed the energy emanating from his body. This is internal energy. A new confidence began to grow within him. With that power, he could finally repay all that had been done to him. Kim Taiju stood up slowly, his expressionless face as he said, "It's good to see you again." The lieutenant scoffed, mocking. "And this calm attitude? Now are you going to tell me you awakened? You don't even have a mark." Taiju briefly reflected on that. The awakened were classified into levels, from master to user, and each level left a visible mark on the face. Jung Indong was merely a beginner in terms of Murim, equivalent to a third-rate martial artist. Now, facing him, Taiju felt that the man was nothing extraordinary. Disinterested, Kim Taiju asked, "Have you finished talking?" Jung Indong was enraged by such indifference, but Taiju did not speak in vain. He pulled out some coins from his pocket and, with the poisonous energy overflowing from his body, declared, "Now you will answer for everything you have done to me." Seeing that, Indong thought it was a joke aimed at him. Ju had lost his sanity. He drew his own sword and ordered his subordinates, "Everyone attack together!" Even though it was his first real battle, Kim Taeju felt extremely calm, perhaps because he had merged with Tanganak. Even rejected by mana, the path of poison still existed within him, and with the power of his other self, he was sure he would win. The coins were thrown with precision, utilizing the art of hidden weapons. They cut through the air like silent specters, advancing with terrifying speed. Each coin pierced through a soldier with absolute precision. The bodies of the 4 squad members were flung back by the impact. Taiju advanced among the enemies like a blur, leaving trails of energy behind. His hand formed a seal, and his curved fingers took on the shape of claws. His target was Jung Indong's chest. The first lieutenant was thrown away, surprising the guard next to him. The soldier turned in shock and managed to draw his weapon, pointing it at Taiju. However, the moment he fired, the young man had already disappeared. Taiju appeared right in front of him, leaving behind only a residual image and a chilling phrase, "Too slow." The protagonist cornered Jung Indong, who was lying before a tree. With a weak voice, the lieutenant asked, "What are you going to do to me?" Taiju's answer was straightforward. "Even the awakened are powerless against poison." Jung Dong noticed something strange. Nonetheless, he said, "You don't have a mark. How can you use that kind of power?" Taiju showed slight disdain. The power Gunak would be offended to hear this. He then added, "But tell me, how does it feel to be on the other side now? Isn't it an unpleasant feeling?" Indong's body began to give in inside. Desperate, he tried to plead for his life, but Taiju, he was unmoved. He grabbed the lieutenant by the neck and lifted him, his eyes reflecting the fury accumulated over years of unsuccessful pleas. Indong tried to threaten, "Do you have any idea who is behind me?" He attempted to mention Honda Mitsui's name, but was interrupted by Taiju's firm grip. The protagonist released even more energy, and Jung Indong was completely consumed, leaving no traces. Observing what was left, Quinta and Ju smiled slightly. "Don't worry, I don't intend to disappear." Without a fight. The next day dawned in the Samhan Empire, a nation formed after the Mana Cataclysm, uniting ancient territories of Korea, China, and Japan. Taiju's hometown, Paju, was part of this empire, a small and extremely poor region. Inside a meeting room in a large residence, a surprised voice echoed, "What? Taisju has disappeared," the man at the table confirmed, explaining that there had been an attempt to neutralize during a military operation. He continued, "Lieutenant Jung Indong and his squad reported an ambush near a cliff during a patrol. There were more details in the report. Second Lieutenant Kim somehow survived, was officially discharged, and has been missing since then. But that wasn't all. Lieutenant Jung and his squad seem to have been attacked and killed by monsters during their escape." The leader of the residence showed even more surprise. "What exactly happened?" The officer replied cautiously, "There are indications that the attack was ordered by officers linked to Japanese affiliates." Brigadier General Franzel, bringing his hand to his head, said, "Japanese? Don't tell me this was the work of Mitsui." Honda Mitsui, a member of an influential Japanese family integrated into the Samhan Empire, was the mother of Taiju's half-brothers, Tai Pyung and Tai Tium. To ensure that the territory of Paju would be inherited by her children compatible with Mana, she waited for the death of Taiju, a rejected one. The general reflected, since he had survived this long, had her patience run out? Then she sought help from the family in the Kyushu territory to arrange everything. Kim Wang-bang knew that the son would not have much time left to live. Nonetheless, he still hoped that Mitsui would wait for the situation. It was delicate, but Paju was also facing difficulties. He relied on her family's financial support. There was only one choice left. The general declared, "I will take care of this from here. You may leave." The doors closed soon after. Kim Wang-bang knew that, as a rejected one, Saitu would eventually succumb to the influence of the Mana. Reaching 29 years was already extraordinary. Mitsui's actions had crossed boundaries, yet he chose to ignore everything for the sake of Taipyeong and Taichian, who would inherit his territory. As for Taiju, in light of his disappearance, the general believed he would never see him again. He would not send out searches, only letting one last thought slip: live the rest of your life in freedom. Carrying a backpack, Quinta and Ju arrived at the border zone of the magical beasts of Jiri, in the territory of the Samhan Empire. Before him was a city surrounded by mountains, cut through by lakes. He was even impressed. "Wow! From this point, you can see Guri completely." There was another person in the mountains. Besides him, a man approached. "Hey, Mr. Kim, is it your first time seeing the panoramic view of Guri?" The young man agreed, revealing that he had never spent much time in the city. The man seemed to understand, also realizing that he did not know the place well. Up to 300 years ago, the free city of Guri was just a small region in South Korea, but everything changed when it was incorporated into the Samhan Empire. There was an exceptional amount of magical creatures at Mount Guri that needed to be contained. Therefore, the emperor designated Guri as a strategic base and declared it a free city. There were tax exemptions on byproducts of magical beasts, special permits, and various unusual relaxations with reduced regulations. Awakened, they began to gather there, and the hunts became extremely active. According to the man, this is how the free city of Guri transformed into a prosperous metropolis. responsible for more than 20% of the byproducts of magical creatures in the empire, becoming a true land of opportunities for those in need of money. In the face of such a lengthy explanation, Ju felt his ears throbbing. The man concluded his speech, advising him to be careful, as there were also dangerous criminals in the city. Smiling slightly, the protagonist thanked him. The man also said that he could ask anything if he had questions, and then bid farewell. Despite talking too much, Taiju acknowledged that the warnings were helpful. Not long ago, after surviving Jungindong's attack, he cut all ties with his past and left, seeking a place where he could strengthen himself. That's how he found the free city of Guri. The Empire's authority there was limited, making it difficult for his family to discover his whereabouts. Moreover, the area was filled with poisonous magical beasts and toxic herbs, making it perfect for training his martial arts, something that still felt partially unfamiliar to him. The near-death encounter, the soul-sharing with the legendary martial world master, and the spiritual art he received all contributed to Honda Mitsui's attempt to destroy him. In fact, it ended up opening a new path even without money or great initial strength. On Thursday, Eiju was evolving while working as a porter on Mount Gear. Suddenly someone called him. The man accompanying him, curious, Taiju asked who the strongest person in the group was. The man pointed to a swordswoman among them. She was a professional awakened, Lee Hanel, ranked at the regular level. Taiju realized she was young and yet impressive. He knew that a regular level was above a beginner, like Jiangdong. Still, something intrigued him. Her mana flow seemed unstable, as if it were out of control. Suddenly, the awakened woman's eyes rolled back, and Lee Hanel collapsed to the ground. From the young woman's body, the group saw a small red mosquito, a third-rank mutated creature. Take flight. Be careful. Don't let it sting you. On Thursday, Eiju observed the insect with curiosity. A red-haired mage raised her staff, gathering fire energy. Get out of the way. I'll handle this. A large, flaming sphere formed and was hurled at the mosquito. The explosion completely engulfed the creature. Taiju asked the porter beside him, "Boss, why are they making such a fuss?" The man explained that if the mosquito stung someone, that person's mana temporarily disappeared, just like it happened with Lee Hanel. In some cases, the victim even fainted. As many groups had already been defeated because of this small enemy, everyone remained on high alert. There was something in Tangunok's memories that matched that description. Taiju considered taking the opportunity to test his poison spiritual art. He approached the young awakened and touched the site of the sting. The protagonist checked her condition, asking if she was all right. On the other side, one of the hunters trembled with fear. He warned the team leader that they did not have adequate equipment against insects, and suggested falling back with the unconscious awakening. The leader agreed that it was the safest option at that moment. However, a sound arose from the bushes. The leader immediately warned, "Prepare for combat." What appeared was a long-tailed rabbit, a magical creature at the bottom of the food chain due to its high reproduction rate. It was often used in tests. The group felt relieved and even embarrassed for reacting with such alarm. The leader took a deep breath and said, "Okay, everyone, let's reorganize and fall back." But as soon as he finished speaking, an attack struck his neck. He and the companion beside him were instantly brought down in front of the mage who had eliminated the mosquito. Their bodies fell to the ground as large monsters emerged from the shadows. Orcs, carrying axes and clubs, appeared in numbers equivalent to the group. One of them roared fiercely, making the group tremble even more. With Liranu down, the fire mage, realizing the gravity of the situation, declared, "I will buy time. Take the wounded back." The rest of the group fell back, leaving her to fight alone. The porter approached Tae and Ju, visibly nervous. The protagonist spoke firmly, "Go ahead, I will stay." The man couldn't believe what he heard. They were not in a position to help, but there were many wounded and Tae and Ju wanted to do something. He placed Lirano over the shoulder of the other porter and asked him to take care of her, pointing to the rear. Tae and Ju insisted, "We don't have time, go. I will just give a little help." The man ran hurriedly, asking Tae and Ju to survive. With a slight confident smile, he replied, "Don't worry." Observing the battlefield, Tae and Ju noticed something unusual. The orc attacks were too organized. The fire mage conjured another technique. Forming a flaming spear and throwing it, she looked back and noticed that one of the monsters was advancing toward the wounded, spinning. The body channeled the fire at the tip of the staff as she completed the movement, raising a large wall of flames. Quinta and Ju covered their noses, avoiding inhaling the smoke, and the hot air. He kept observing until he noticed something strange, a subtle movement. The mage also noticed, but it was too late. An orc was already behind her, lifting his heavy weapon to deliver a devastating blow. The Celestial Kingdom was a place where floating islands spread across the horizon as far as the eye could see. Among these countless islands, there there was a small garden with a tranquil lake. It had been a month since a man with white hair had arrived there. That would have been impossible for Tangunak if he hadn't met Taiju through the newfound knowledge gained from a world called Earth, acquired through the sharing of souls. Tangunaki reached a new enlightenment. Furthermore, he finally achieved the ascension he had desired for so long. However, what he did not know was that the celestial kingdom was like a prison, filled with dangerous individuals. Wherever he looked, there were all kinds of people, sect founders, legendary masters, all alike, all behaving like untamed beasts, driven only by the impulse to fight. While observing that, Tanganak remembered the connection he had established with Quinta and Ju. It was this that led him to that result, and for that reason, he decided to see the positive side of the celestial kingdom. The old man wondered how Taiju was doing. They shared the same soul, but due to the paths they had taken, he had become an absolute master of the martial world, while the young man lived as someone weak, rejected by all. He hoped that at least the power he had gained would help. Taiju was finding happiness by overcoming the limits he had seen in his memories. To achieve this, it would be necessary to reach the 7th star of the primordial poison spirit art. He wished for him to evolve quickly. The old master smiled. "If fate allows me, we may meet again one day. I will be keeping new things to teach you at that moment." While thinking about how to continue his own training, the old man was struck on the back of the neck by another master who was flying. A sword laughed. "What is the taste of true telekinesis of the poisonous and deadly sword? How dare a mere user of hidden weapons underestimate fencing?" Furious, Tang Gun Hack pursued the man through the sky, commanding dozens of daggers to attack him at the same time. On the battlefield, after raising the wall of fire, the mage was attacked. Quinta and Ju noticed in time and moved. He hit the mage on the back of the neck, causing her to faint. He then acted quickly, using an area attack technique he had learned. The art of hidden weapons was executed with coins that flew towards each of the orcs. The coins hit the monsters, and as they knocked most of them down, returned back towards Quinta and Ju. The protagonist did not grow poorer. The coins fell a few steps away from him. Collecting them, he looked around in surprise, not expecting to have defeated all the monsters, but it was extremely satisfying. The protagonist then wondered what he would do regarding the mage he had knocked out. He yet was so hasty that he ended up knocking her out too. There was no benefit in having his strength discovered, even if they were just orcs. Someone compatible with mana could face a non-branded charger. Defeating them easily would cause a great misunderstanding. The matter could end up reaching his father, something that Taiju did not want to happen. Before anyone arrived, Kim Taeju decided to leave. He never imagined he would have this kind of concern when, just a month ago, he was merely an outcast. By mana, finding Tangunak truly changed his life. Before departing, Kim Taeju decided to collect everything he could. Hidden weapons were very inconvenient when it came to destroying evidence. Therefore, he needed to retrieve everything he had used. Since they were expensive, disposing of them would also mean losing money. Tangunak had said that automatic recovery would be possible starting from the 7th star, so there was no choice but to get stronger quickly. Looking at the amount of coins, the protagonist realized he had lost one of them. He tried to search for it, certain that he had thrown it in that area. The coin ended up getting stuck in a tree. Kim Taiju approached, and just as he was about to grab it, a red mosquito flew close to him. His reaction was immediate. He caught the insect before it could escape. Small energy of poison enveloped the mosquito, preventing any attempt to flee. Who remembered that this was not an area where 3 striped mutant mosquitoes appeared? The insect seemed to be the same one that had bitten the awakened there earlier. Observing it closely, the protagonist recalled its characteristics. As the mosquito's poison circulated through his body, the internal energy dispersed to the awakened, and mana temporarily vanished. As expected, this effect was similar to the energy dispersion poison of the Murim. Unlike that one, however, this was a dangerous poison with no cure. Since there was no antidote, the only way to deal with it was through protective gear. Kim Taeju imagined that if he could discover its exact composition, he could use Tangunak's knowledge to create a medication similar to an antidote for this type of poison. Of course, for that, he would have to find herbs on Earth with properties similar to those of Murim. There was no choice but to test by consuming the mosquito. A slight smile appeared on Quinta and Ju's faces at the thought of the idea. Without hesitation, he tossed the insect into his mouth and swallowed it. Soon after, he felt a great relief. The composition was indeed similar. If I can find the right herbs on the mountain, I will say that I can make the antidote. I feel that this could be very valuable. This will definitely be profitable. Quinta and Ju planned to test what he discovered as soon as he returned. While thinking about going back to the city, he heard the sounds of heavy footsteps. Turning his gaze, he ended up facing a gigantic orc carrying an axe as big as himself, several times larger than Quinta and Ju. Surprised, he wondered why an elite orc had appeared. The large elite orc had a wild look, with red eyes, while his dark voice murmured, "Eliminate humans." The monster was so imposing that Quinta and Ju could not even speak. That wasn't even the common spawning area for elite orcs, but first mosquitoes, then a group of orcs, and now an elite. All of this made him question what was happening on Mount Gear. While he thought, the elite orc attacked, raising the axe above his head. He roared, "Perish, human!" The strike fell exactly where Quinta and Ju was, and its force carved a huge groove in the ground, in the direction where he had jumped, leaping as high as possible. Quinta and Ju barely managed to escape. It was unbelievable that a monster possessed such strength. With an attack power of that level, he should be at the very least among high-rank creatures. It was possible that none of his techniques would work because of that. Kim Tae-ju decided that he would no longer hold back, still in the air, above the elite orc. The protagonist used the coins again to execute the art of hidden weapons. Several coins fell on the orc. They hit its head, but they were too weak, some even breaking against the hardness of the monster's skin. As Taiju had predicted, not even that attack, the strongest among his hidden weapons, was effective. If the dagger explosion technique dispersed the impact, then it would be even less useful in that situation. Taiju considered his last option, to test if the poison from his poisonous palm of the blood seal would work. The elite orc roared furiously after being hit. The protagonist awoke upon hearing the roar, realizing he was hesitating in front of the enemy. He noticed he was starting to doubt himself just because a single attack had failed. Taiju wondered what kind of person Tangunak would think he was if he saw him in that state. He had become overly confident after easily defeating that group of orcs, but now there was nowhere to retreat. Gathering a large amount of poisonous energy in the palm of his hand, he advanced. Nothing would stand in his way. He intended to keep attacking until he fell, after all. That was how the path of supreme poison worked. The poisonous palm of the blood seal skill was used, aiming directly at the elite orc. The monster raised its axe, preparing to attack the human who was approaching at high speed. The weapon was wielded and pointed forward, meeting Taiju's charge, which advanced with all his strength. The impact between the yoshike. Two attacks caused energy to explode, soaring above the trees. The orc's axe fell beside him, covered in cracks. The elite orc still stood while before him, Taiju fell to his knees. The damage caused by Taiju had been superficial, causing no real injuries to the monster's body. Reaching that point, the protagonist realized he would have to attack repeatedly. At that moment, a serrated sword appeared. Dozens of strikes from impossible angles fell upon the elite orc before it could even react. The protagonist was surprised by the attack. To eliminate a monster of that level so easily, the person who did this must have been at the very least a master. Worry and regret crossed Quinta and Ju's minds for not leaving earlier. While thinking about what kind of explanation to give, the pieces of the orc started to fall to the ground. The person wielding the serrated sword pointed the blade at the defeated orcs and asked, "Was it you who did this, kid? You don't have a mark on your face, so you can't be awakened. How could someone like you defeat a group of orcs?" The protagonist remained silent, staring at the man in front of him. Lee Jung-hak, member of the permanent committee of the city of Guri, security captain and master of the Nogadan Guild. He had that familiar condescending tone, an authoritative posture, and the power of a master. He was clearly not an ordinary person. Quinta and Ju knew they needed to choose their words carefully. First, "Thank you for saving me." He assumed an expression that would invoke compassion in anyone who saw him. Before the protagonist could introduce himself, the other loader from the team appeared. "Mr. Kim, is everything all right?" Taiju was about to respond when the man corrected him. "I'm not talking about, you. I'm talking about the baggage." Even surprised, the protagonist replied, "Yes, that night arrived in time, so everything is fine." The man looked in the same direction as Taiju and recognized the one responsible for defeating the elite orc. "Oh, are you talking about Master Lee Jung-hak?" Others arrived shortly after, apologizing for the delay. He showed no interest and simply ordered them to call the cleaning team. The loader commented quietly, "Did you know how Guri is a free city? It is governed by an autonomous committee, not by the imperial family. Lord Lee Jung-hak is one of the 3 permanent members who actually have decision-making power. He is the leader of the Nogadan Guild, responsible for security, and also a master-ranked awakener." The man continued, "We porters rely on this guild for our protection, but it ended up catching the attention of Lee Jung-hak himself, who warned him, 'Hey, you better watch what you say.'" Soon as Lee Jung-hak walked away, the porter commented to Kim Taiju, You were lucky. If you clash with him, your life gets swallowed up and it's over. So avoid crossing his path at all costs. Despite recognizing that Lee Jong-hak seemed difficult to handle, the protagonist did not think he was a bad person. The man, however, revealed more details. He was a captain in name only. In practice, he accepted bribes and pretended not to see certain things. He only does these patrols as a way of maintaining his reputation. I was in a hurry and ended up running into him, so I brought him with me. Otherwise, I would have called someone else. The protagonist questioned whether that was really true. For the man, the answer was simple. A master awakener was like a natural disaster. Therefore, he advised, it's better not to get involved with people like that. Changing the subject, he suggested, let's go back to the city. All right, let's organize our load and head down before it gets late. The luggage is intact, right? Laughing, the protagonist confirmed. As he approached the large backpack, Kim Tae-ju reflected on what had happened. If that man named Lee Jung-hak hadn't interfered, he would genuinely have been in danger. It had been over a month since the soul sharing. Tae-ju began to wonder what he had done with that time. His expression grew darker as he evaluated himself. Just because I escaped the fate of being rejected with one power, I received it easily. I became arrogant just because I defeated a few enemies. This is pathetic. I am even ashamed to face Tang Gumak with this thought. He made a decision. From now on, everything will be different. I will truly become stronger. Back in the city of Guri, it was noticeable that the local infrastructure was very well established, but it still lacked some things. One example was the hospitals. It was hard to find a really good one, as the city was dangerous and doctors were scarce. The few who remained in Guri were fugitives who had caused problems elsewhere, so the citizens avoided them. As a result, what naturally grew were drugs, or rather, pharmacies. It was possible to see awakened ones and vendors everywhere offering their pills. Due to this background, pharmacists in Guri were authorized to issue prescriptions. They could prescribe and sell medication approved by the Imperial Federation or the Autonomous Committee. Business was booming. It made more sense to buy proven medication than to rely on an unreliable hospital. That is why Quinta and Ju had also gone there to sell the antidote for the three-striped mutant mosquito. He wondered how much he had suffered in the past months to create it, working as a porter during the day to earn money, gathering ingredients in his free time, and practicing martial arts at night. Creating an antidote required delicate control, and reaching the third star of the spiritual art of poison was something essential that he needed to conquer. But thanks to that, Quinta and Ju also became strong enough not to be humiliated anymore. Now, if the deal regarding the medication went well, he would no longer have to worry about money. The protagonist headed towards a large commercial building. Taking the first step to become rich upon entering the drugstore, he was welcomed. A young woman behind the counter asked how she could help, offering some products, but Tae-ju directly asked if the owner was present. The woman began to observe him more carefully, surprised by the approach. Tae-ju then revealed, I am not here to buy anything, I am here to sell. The woman smiled a bit awkwardly, and a man restocking some products upon hearing that, cleared his throat to get attention. The man, in the prime of adulthood, had a serene look that matched his beard and mustache. He introduced himself. I am the owner here, Beck. Rumpyu, you can speak to me. Besides being the owner of the drugstore, Beck Rumpyu was also the director of the orphanage. Beck opened his small bag, and Tae-ju introduced himself better, revealing that he wanted to sell a medication he had created. The man showed little interest upon hearing him, sighing internally. But a traveling salesman is always a novelty. Each day, he turned away without even showing a desire to see the medication. We are not interested, so please leave. It seems you have not been in the city for long. If you want to make money, go to the stock market job market. Tae-ju took a small vial, explaining, Still, this is the antidote for the three-striped mutant mosquito. The man was about to reject him again, when he realized what had been said and asked once more to confirm, what antidote? Tae-ju confirmed the identity of the item with a confident smile. The man observed him for a moment, allowing him to explain, reaching out to take the vial. The protagonist further revealed, it is taken orally and can be ingested beforehand. The effect lasts for 10 hours. He then let the vial of the antidote fall into the box that the store owner had. He still held the identity of the antidote. It was hard to believe. Back snapped, reacting with irritation. If you are going to create a farce, at least make it believable. An antidote for mosquitoes? Who's prudent? The protagonist placed 2 more vials on the counter and also handed over a card with his contact information. Test me with them and contact me if you're interested. You have until midnight today. Placing the card with his fake name, Kim Hyun-soo, on the table, he bid farewell. If I don't hear a response soon, I will go to another pharmacy. Both the shop owner and the receptionist, along with a warrior who was shopping, remained silent, as they were all still incredulous. The warrior picked up the vial. Wow, is this an antidote for mosquitoes? Park Jin-soo, the attack team leader and heavily reliant on potions, asked Chief Bayek if he believed in that young man. Beck snapped. stared at him for a while before giving his verdict. Hard to say. Taking the vial from Jin-Su's hand, he asserted that they would find out by testing it. The pharmacy chief had low expectations, as even the best pharmaceutical companies of the Samhan Empire had given up on creating an antidote for mosquitoes. But the young man's overconfidence bothered him. The hurried saleswoman asked the adventurer Park to lower the small bottle in his hand, but the man, in front of everyone, drank the contents that needed to be tested. After drinking the entire vial, he frowned. Is this just pure water? Baek Hong-pil became confused and questioned if the man, accustomed to ingesting all kinds of potions, had not felt any medicinal energy, but Park Jin-su denied it. He responded firmly, "As you said, Chief, I've already had my share of potions. If it were an antidote, I would feel some kind of energy, but this is just pure water. I raised my hopes for nothing." He threw the vial in a trash can and advised, "I checked the potion for you. He is clearly a scammer, so throw the rest away. Also, Chief Bayek looked at the bottle inside the box he was holding, questioning whether the young man was really just another scammer. Park Jin-su placed a basket full of medicines on the counter, asking the saleswoman to check the price. She asked if he was going for another hunt, and Park Jin-su confirmed, "Yes, we are hunting Hans today. Testing the drug of that fraud delayed me a bit." Nana, the saleswoman, calculated the price, which ended up being a bit too expensive for Park Jin-su, who paid with some frustration, while Beck, breaking up, threw the other bottles in the trash. The pharmacy chief said goodbye, wishing him a good hunt. Inside, he was still irritated for being fooled by the story of the antidote for the three-striped mosquito. The end of the afternoon was approaching, and in a forest, martens and giant ferocious rodents attacked a group of awakened ones. The reinforced shield skill was used by the team's tanker. Various cutting attacks struck the magical barrier, while he still did not understand why those beasts with teeth as sharp as blades had appeared in that area. A swordswoman raised her katana, eliminating the last monster in the rear. After a brief moment to catch her breath, she warned Park Jin-su that they could retreat now, panting heavily, with parts of her armor already torn. She warned that she had been bitten by a venomous mosquito. "If we stay here any longer, I think I will be paralyzed soon." Park Jin-su heeded the request. "Okay, wait just a second. It will all be over once we take out this last one." While blocking the last monster he was fighting, a mutant mosquito flew towards him. He panicked. If he got hit, the poison in his body would combine with the new one. The paralysis would be inevitable. Collapsing in that situation, with the entire team already exhausted, would mean the end for everyone. Park Jin-su felt that his shield was weakening, as if it were already poisoned. He wondered when everything had gone wrong. That area was infested with mosquitoes, so they had prepared repellents. However, the blade-toothed martens suddenly appeared in a mutant frog hunting area. The mosquito repellent clothing was destroyed by them in an instant. Park Jin-su, as the team leader, blamed himself for not paying more attention. He panicked and ended up getting hit. After suffering the stings, they tried to fall back, but they were blocked by animals that resembled furious weasels the most. Park Jin-su wanted, at the very least, to eliminate the last monster so that everyone could survive. "The sword!" Shin shouted amid the leader's desperate thoughts. "Watch out!" Park Jin-su recovered at that moment, his eyes widening. The strike from each of the martens came in his direction. The sharp tail, like a sword, broke the magic of the shield he had raised, shattering it. As the attack continued, Park Jin-su felt that something was strange. Only the reinforced shield had been destroyed. He had not lost strength, and his mana remained intact. It was then that he realized and wondered, "Don't tell me the antidote actually worked?" He tried to stay focused and grabbed his heavy sword. If the antidote was real, there was still a chance to fight. He charged at the monster with sharp claws leaping in his direction. Later, when all the stores should have been closed, the door of a pharmacy was abruptly opened. Park Jin-su was desperately searching for Baek Hong-pyo. Upon finding him, he urgently asked, "The antidote from this morning. How much does it cost? Sell me all of it. I will buy everything you have." The Guri market was extremely busy. People were shopping all over the area. Every day you could hear meat vendors shouting on one side, while armor merchants announced their equipment on the other. Having only lived in Paju and Mount Seorake, this was Kinta and Ju's first time in such a large market. He felt satisfied for taking a day off. The creation of the mosquito antidote required him to reach the 3rd star of the poison spirit art. Precise control of internal energy was necessary to correctly extract the ingredients from medicinal herbs and poisonous substances. Because he had pushed himself beyond the limit, the poisonous essence in his body became overloaded after reaching the 3rd star. Therefore, he needed to rest and stabilize the poison for a while. Additionally, he had been hired by CEO Baek during a coffee meeting. The owner of the drugstore proposed, "Let's sign a contract. I will buy everything you have. Taiju showed willingness to accept. I think that's how business is done. Beck, who was excited, could already imagine the impact. This medication is going to revolutionize hunting magical beasts on Mount Gear. To think I almost overlooked someone like you, I must be crazy. The protagonist did not fully understand what he meant, not knowing that he had saved Jinsu's life. The pharmacist quickly changed the subject and got straight to the point. How many medicines do you have in stock? It's enough. Quinta and Ju replied that he had 60,000 vials. Surprised, Beck was already thinking ahead and asked what would happen when the stock ran out. The protagonist casually replied that he would produce more as needed. Satisfied, Beck introduced the contract, explaining the terms. I will set the official production cost at 10,000 IU. One per unit to be sold for 50,000. This includes that I will handle all the approvals and patent processes for you. There was no reason for Quinta and Ju to mention that your actual cost was only 100 coins per bottle, so he agreed to the terms. An initial stock of 60,000 units would generate 3 billion, considering the city rate was only 10%. 2,700 million would remain. Still, Quinta and Ju proposed something different. Let's do it another way. I will grant you exclusivity for 1 year and supply it for 35,001 each. Beck broke off, trying to refuse, believing he was taking too large a share of the profits. However, Quinta and Ju asked, "You run an orphanage, don't you?" The rumors about him were known. Baek Hong Pyu was seen as the father of the orphans of Guri. Quinta and Ju had heard that he maintained the orphanage with the profits from the drugstore, so he wanted to help. In exchange, he only asked for a place where he could oversee the production of the medicines. Baek broke off, held back his emotions, and accepted the young man's proposal, saying that he knew the ideal place for that. The two shook hands, sealing the agreement. After successfully signing the antidote contract and receiving a considerable advance, Taiju decided to take advantage of his day off and visit the famous Guri market to buy some equipment. On the street he walked, there were countless adventurers. A muscular man approached him. "Hey kid, do you need a new weapon?" Taiju did not expect anyone to speak to him. The bald man with a shiny head smiled widely. "That's right, my shop is the best in the area. Don't waste time looking elsewhere. Buy here. Since you're so handsome, I'll give you a special discount." Feeling uncomfortable, Taiju refused. Still, the man put his hand on his shoulder, causing shivers while licking his lips. "You are very stingy. Take a look around. It won't cost you anything." The protagonist was surprised that he couldn't distance himself due to the lack of marks. The man should be at most comparable to common blacksmiths, but he possessed surprising strength. Taiju wondered, how is my body, strengthened by a third-star martial art, being dominated so easily? Could he be a secret master craftsman? Inside the bald man's shop, there were various shields, as well as hammers and daggers. With his arm still resting on Quinta and Ju's shoulders, the man introduced the place, leaving the protagonist surprised. "You did all this?" The man nodded in confirmation. "As I said before, I am the best in the city, kid." A faint energy emerged in one of Quinta and Ju's eyes, which he used to analyze the equipment. The quality of each piece was indeed high. He realized he couldn't judge someone just by their appearance. Convinced of the blacksmith's skill, Kim Tae, Ju took a piece of paper and asked if he could produce 100 copies of a piece of equipment he designed. The man looked at the drawing with curiosity. Flying daggers made from willow leaves. What are these things? They are too small to be throwing knives. Do you intend to use them? He considered the idea and analyzed the necessary materials. If they were throwing weapons, they would need to be made with mana steel. With high hopes, Quinta and Ju asked if the order could be fulfilled. The man confirmed but explained it would take some time due to the scarcity of materials. Agreeing to wait, Taeju asked the price, winking at him. The man replied by summing up materials and labor, and including a discount for handsome men. The total amount is 250 million won. You just need to pay a 10% deposit today. He would spend 250 million. In just 100 single-use weapons, a high value was expected, but I didn't imagine it would be so much. Still, Taeju decided to pay for the entire project in advance. The order was organized, and the blacksmith informed that he would send the first sample of the small daggers to Taeju's address as soon as it was ready. After completing the order for the flying daggers, Taeju began to look for armor. He reflected, it would be good to sew pockets in my clothes and carry various poisons and hidden weapons. Like Tangunak, I should also have a long martial hobby custom made. However, he already imagined he would draw a lot of attention if he used the same traditional style as Tangunak. He preferred to maintain a more modern look. While thinking about options for wearing modern armor instead of a long hobby, someone approached him on the street. A woman wearing a fox tiara extended her hand, handing out a flyer. The Flame Boutique has just launched a new line of magical beast leather armors. We also have coats on display today. Come check it out. Observing the suit in the brochure, the protagonist concluded that a leather coat would be much more suitable than a long hobby. Throughout the territory of the free city of Guri, it was possible to see various skyscrapers around the lakes. Cable cars and passenger cars filled the streets, composing the urban scene. From very far away, some people were observing an imposing castle. A woman with long gray hair placed her hand on her waist and commented, "A walled city in the year 2325, it exudes vanity." Her partner with short, honey-colored hair agreed and explained that it was only possible to reach the castle by boat, as the bridges were closed or something like that, and you could only live there if you were a rich person from the city of Guri, a high-ranking awakened one, an administrator, or someone influential, like a council member. Gray was John Young-het, the heiress of the Bayek group, from the military academy cadet. She is highly ranked in mana aptitude. She showed repulsion at seeing the powerful hiding under the pretense of security. Ayeon-ri's secretary smiled, commenting on how intimidating her lady was, and reminded, "Are you saying you came all the way here today just for a fox leather coat?" Jong Yong-ri crossed his arms and corrected, "It's not just any fox leather, it's Siberian fox leather." Illusion then explained the reason for her interest. These foxes have a small population and hunting them is difficult, so the leather is extremely rare. Armor made from this material has excellent defense, as well as being cool in summer and warm in winter. The secretary, upon hearing this, commented on how the materials seemed rare and expensive, concluding that it was worth using her vacation for this trip. Holding a credit card, she added, "All right, the president sent his black card, you can use it freely." Ayeon-ri was surprised by her grandfather's attitude, but believed it wasn't necessary, as he already had enough money. The cable car they were on announced their arrival at the destination. "Passengers, please prepare to disembark." As they got off, Dion and Yeon-ri headed directly towards the boutique, hurrying the secretary. "Kim, I am eager to see the real thing." At that same moment, Kim Tae-ju had also decided to acquire a coat made from magical beasts. Upon entering the store, he noticed that Yoon-ri and her secretary were already being assisted by a saleswoman. He announced his presence, waiting for service. The saleswoman who was attending to the two asked for a moment's leave and went to assist Kim Tae-ju. The secretary whispered to her lady, "An unwanted guest? Don't tell me he's after the leather too." The saleswoman was a woman with long red hair and a serene look. As she approached, she welcomed them, but soon recognized, "Quinta and Ju, you are the bearer from that time." Confused, the protagonist asked who she was. The seller then introduced herself, revealing that she was the fire mage who was part of his group when they were attacked by orcs. Quinta and Deus remembered her and was surprised to see her there working as a seller. She explained that this was her main job and that she only participated in the subjugation as a side job when she had time. Putting that aside, she expressed joy at seeing him again, saying that she had been looking for him, smiling somewhat shyly. The protagonist stated that there was no reason for that and tried to say goodbye, intending to leave immediately. The reason he credited her for defeating the orcs at that moment was precisely to live in Guri without attracting attention. Of course, there was a possibility that the truth would come to light when she woke up, but he was already prepared to move if that happened. Still, it was better to avoid her, before she started asking questions about what happened. The mage, however, grabbed Kim Tae-ju's arm, asking him to wait. Stammering for a moment, she asked, "Was it you who saved me back then?" Tae-ju then explained that the No-Godan Guild had questioned whether she had fainted due to excessive mana use after eliminating all the orcs, and that based on that, he was able to imagine some circumstances, which is why he agreed with that version. The emotion he felt made his body tremble slightly. Still, Quinta and Ju contradicted her. How could a bearer defeat orcs? I also fainted back then. Even so, she trusted her instincts. Honestly, I don't know why you helped me, but thank you very much. Thanks to you, I was able to recover the bodies of our team leader and my beloved. Tears began to fall. As she expressed her gratitude in front of the crying woman, Taiju was unsure how to react. Although he had saved her that day, he had also, selfishly, wanted to test his own techniques. Not knowing exactly how to make her stop crying, he simply asked her to calm down. He did not believe he deserved that gratitude, yet she came to Manga, drying her tears while sobbing. I put my savior in an uncomfortable position. I'm sorry. At that moment, Secretary Kim intervened with irritation. Excuse me, how much longer are you going to keep my law waiting? Apologizing to the duo, Manga did something unexpected. She knelt down and lowered her head, deeply apologizing. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to sell the coat you chose. Upon hearing this, the protagonist was surprised, remembering that this was exactly the item he wanted. The secretary was furious. her face turning red with anger. What are you playing at? We've taken all the measurements, and all that's left is to pay. And now you say, you can't sell it? Do you know how hard it was for my law to find time to come here? With regret in her eyes, Manga confirmed her decision but explained, this is the most precious thing I have. Until a moment ago, I could have sold it, but now there is something more important for which I need to use it. Upon hearing this, Yoon-ri remained silent, analyzing the situation. Secretary Kim still wanted to insist, but was interrupted by Lady Jong herself. After a slight sigh, Yoon-ri headed for the exit. That's enough, let's go! The secretary looked incredulous, almost about to explode with frustration. How can we just leave? You said you really wanted this. Yoon-ri, however, showed no concern, since the seller now had another purpose for the item. Quinta and Ju felt uncomfortable. This was not an important customer. I feel like I've caused trouble. Manga assured that everything was fine. And she stated that, in fact, she was the one who should apologize for surprising him in that way, still confused. The protagonist asked why she had decided not to sell the coat. With a slight smile, the Manga asked if he was often told that he was slow to understand certain things, but he replied that it was the first time someone had said that. She did not seem entirely convinced, but realizing that he really hadn't understood, explained, I am giving you the coat. That truly surprised Kim Taeju as he approached the overcoat. She continued, I want to repay you for saving my life with this silver fox leather coat. Taeju did not want to accept the gift, as he had not saved the Manga with that intention. Laughing at his naivety, the shopkeeper replied, what relevance do your intentions have? The important thing is that I survived thanks to them. Then, with a slight tone of sadness, she added, if that really bothers you, then save even more people next time, so they don't lose their lives in vain as my beloved did. It was the first time Taeju received gratitude from someone. He had always been the target of criticism and disdain, and being accustomed to such treatment, he secretly knew it would be a lie to say that the situation was not overwhelming, as he had not helped with good intentions. Still, receiving gratitude was not a bad feeling. With a slight smile, he made his decision. I understand. If you insist, I will accept the gift with gratitude. The Acrois boutique owner's excitement spread immediately. What a relief. Come, let's take your measurements. Meanwhile, in the celestial realm, an old man rested lying on a flying sword. He chewed a piece of plant, grinding his teeth out of pure boredom. Dongbin Seonin, the immortal of the sword, constantly complained, as there was absolutely nothing to do in that damned realm of the immortals. Everyone wore the same clothes. They had similar white hair or gray beards, even with slight variations in color. They all looked the same. The immortal of the sword eventually remembered a single different person in that place. He thought of the man named Tang, who had also arrived there from the Murim, but he was the only one who truly stood out. Despite being old as well, he had an unusual haircut and claimed that style came from another world. His beard was short, and even his leather clothes were something that no one there had ever seen before. The immortal of the sword began to wonder if Tang Gun-hak had difficulty adapting and therefore had gone mad. Still, consumed by boredom, he decided to go talk to him to learn how to make those different clothes. If I change my clothes, maybe everything will be less boring, and two lunatics together seem more interesting than just one sitting on his flying sword. He made his decision. To get Tang Gun-hak to teach him about those garments, he intended to offer something equally valuable in exchange. From within his hobby, he took out a large celestial pear, a fruit obtained directly from the celestial realm. Mr. Beck's orphanage was located in a large multi-story building. A part of the building was empty, known as Wing 1F. From there, it was possible to access Section B2F, where there was a large vault. A greenish light emanated from that locked room. Inside were Quinta and Ju, with one hand submerged in water, manipulating the energy of the poison. The protagonist put on a headset and answered a call from Beck Hong Pil. He informed the pharmacist that the production of the new antidotes was complete. Mr. Beck showed relief upon hearing this. Afterwards, the stock was almost exhausted and asked when Tang and Ju could send the new batch. The request surprised the protagonist, who remembered sending a shipment the previous day. Do you need more at the pharmacy? The situation was chaotic. News about the antidote had spread, and people were desperately looking for it. The demand was so high that the stock had quickly run out, as many were buying multiple vials to stockpile. In light of this, Kim Taeju instructed, announce that the supply will be continuous, and set a purchase limit of 2 vials per person. Baek Hongpyo agreed, but expressed concern about this sudden popularity. Counterfeit versions may arise sooner than expected. Will this work out? To conclude, one more vial. Kim Tae-ju confidently replied, maybe that will happen in the future, but right now it is impossible. Even if imitations arise, we can simply produce a different version of the medication. Despite his words, Tae-ju was fully convinced that, without the art of the poisonous spirit, copying his antidote was unfeasible. Beck noted all the instructions and assured that he would control the sales volume, asking Tae-ju to continue with production. Before ending the call, Kim Tae-ju asked, when can I receive the packaging machine? These days, packing takes longer than manufacturing. I've packed 20,000 vials today. You know I haven't been able to go home for a week and I've been stuck here, right? Surrounded by boxes of antidote. Tae-ju was already showing signs of fatigue. On the other end of the line, the pharmacy owner laughed and assured that he would expedite the shipping. Meanwhile, outside the door, sealed by a heavy lock, 2 young people were quietly approaching. Hey, we shouldn't be here. They say there's a ghost around here. The boy tried to reassure her. Be quiet! What ghost? They say a homeless person is living here. I will definitely kick him out. The girl, still scared, wanted to back away, believing it could really be something supernatural, but he insisted. I am sure it is someone who stole our secret base. Suddenly, the lock began to turn, and the door opened. A fog spread through the place, and, in the middle of it, a man appeared carrying several boxes. He smiled at the children, and the fog made his figure even more frightening. Hello! The 2 brothers were so startled that they nearly fainted and rushed to flee, with the girl almost being left behind. The protagonist set the boxes down and sighed. What cruelty! I barely finished packing everything in time and left, and yet they call me a stinky ghost. Fifth, he smelled his own arm, and remembering that he had not bathed in a week, began to wonder if he really did smell unpleasant. Soon he recalled the request from the loader, who had asked him to replace someone. The meeting would happen soon, and he needed to hurry. If he stopped to take a bath, he would end up being late. While pondering this, a woman approached. Are you okay, Mr. Kim? The 2 children from earlier hid behind a woman in high heels who was carrying a box. I heard from my father that you are working on an antidotes business together, she introduced herself. The protagonist asked who the young woman was. She realized she had not introduced herself yet, and replied, nice to meet you. I am Baek Seoyeon from the Baek Hall orphanage. She then cast a slight reproachful glance, explaining that the young ones were talking about a ghost, which was why she had come to check. She also revealed she was there to deliver a box. The package bore the symbol of a forge, which made Tae-ju realize it was the prototype of the daggers. He received the package and thanked Miss Seoyeon while pinching his nose. Baek Seoyeon also thanked him. Please go on. Maintaining a good relationship with my father and ensuring she would take a shower on the first floor before leaving while holding the children's hands, she stepped away as the little ones insisted that Quinta and Ju take a shower before going to clean up. The protagonist decided to check the contents of the package, along with the daggers, and found a card. The bald blacksmith had written, Dear, it's a prototype. Try it and tell me if anything is missing. Irritated by the forced intimacy, Tae-ju tore the card without hesitation, sighed, picked up one of the daggers and examined it. The items were good, solid, and well sharpened. He threw one of the blades up, letting it spin in the air before catching it again. Both the weight and the grip were perfect. Imagining the final result, he was anxious for the complete product, as well as for the coat that was still being adjusted. The fire mage had said that the coat would be a gift, and that she would contact him when it was ready. Now that he had enough money, Quinta and Ju planned to pay for the item, realizing that he had already delayed even more. Quinta and Ju hurried, leaving the boxes aside and going straight to take a shower. The dire mountain was the border zone of the magical beasts. A group was waiting for the arrival of the last member. Upon arrival, Quinta and Ju greeted the chief. The porter waved back, welcoming him and apologizing for the delay. The protagonist asked if they had waited long. The chief reassured him, You arrived just in time, thank you for coming, even though I called at the last minute. Tae-ju didn't mind since the chief had helped him a lot. Suddenly, an irritated-looking man, holding a katana, exploded against Quinta and Ju. Hey, if you are the last to arrive being a low-level porter, you should come here and apologize first. Look at these damned ones treating each other like friends for nothing. This is a social gathering. The angry man said, It was Jung Won-jun, a member of the Kondong Seok team and a beginner in using mana. The protagonist was not intimidated and replied, You are exaggerating, I didn't arrive late for the agreed time, so why should I apologize? The man insisted, even more harshly, Are you answering me? If you're a markless loader, you should just accept your place. What are you basing your actions on? Do I need to cut you off for you to learn to apologize? Quinta and Ju wondered what was wrong with that guy, if he was doing it on purpose. The irritation began to grow, as did the desire to deal with him directly. There seemed to be a reason they needed a substitute, as everyone seemed to be avoiding them. Mr. O then approached and whispered to Quinta and Ju, asking him to cooperate, even with the ongoing provocations. Quinta and Ju, already used to this type of person, decided to help Chief O and ended up apologizing. On the other side of the trees, someone shouted, "Won Jun! Stop that! Stop wasting time!" The man with the katana turned around, clicking his tongue in irritation. "Consider yourself lucky," Mr. O asked Kim Taeju if he was okay. At the same time, on the other side, Won Jun's group was urging him to start the hunt. The protagonist was confused to realize that, in total, there were only 7 people. Considering the scale of the mission, he expected at least 15 participants. Before they left, he approached the group and questioned, "Excuse me, are we really going with this number of people? Even though the recent trend is to reduce group sizes because of the mosquito antidote, this is still too little." He had directed his comment to the one who was irritated again. "That damn guy? What is he saying? What does a loader know? Don't you want to go home alive considering the safety of the loaders?" Who were despised by Wandu. Quinta and Ju replied, "If the mission is not safe, I will not participate." The swordsman became so furious he started to tremble. "Ah, a bastard who doesn't even know if he will come back alive is still replying." The protagonist frowned upon hearing that, realizing the threatening tone. The team leader, also a novice mana user, intervened, approaching his companion. Hey, if you do that, who will carry our things?" Then he turned to Quinta and Ju and warned them, "Loader, if you speak nonsense one more time, I will throw you to the magical beasts as food." Anjum also provoked, "The bastard loaders of Guri must be living too well. I have never seen a loader question us before." Don Seok put his arm over his companion's shoulder, laughing while pulling him. "He will end up running away if you keep this up," where one laughed along. "If he runs away, I will catch him anyway." The poisonous essence within Quinta and Ju became even denser. Those men were crossing all boundaries. With enough power, he began to wonder if he should simply eliminate them right there to respond to the insults. As these thoughts emerged, the group started to ingest the antidote against the 3-striped mosquito. The gentleman apologized to Kim Taeju, acknowledging that he had put him in a difficult situation. The protagonist said he didn't mind, but questioned again if they truly intended to hunt with such a small number of people. According to the gentleman, the hunting area was close to the Blade Tooth Mark region. Previously, a larger group was necessary due to the mosquitoes, but with the antidote, they no longer needed protective suits, which reduced the necessary number of members, although there was still some concern shown. The gentleman, he believed that there would not be major problems, since there were 2 mana users at the beginner level on the team, asking him not to worry. The gentleman handed a vial of the antidote to Quinta Ehu, asking him to drink as well. The protagonist thanked him with a slight smile, even though he did not need the antidote, as he himself was the source of that medicine. Helping people with that antidote made him remember the fire mage. She had asked him to save more people so that no one would lose their life in vain. Taiju knew he could save many people thanks to his power, a power that was also changing who he was. After meeting that group, he had lost his composure twice, almost revealing his intention to eliminate them. The reason was likely linked to Tangun Ak, the supreme lord of poisons. Tangun Ak always tended to prioritize eliminating those he disliked instead of simply ignoring them. He had a poisonous heart, and after the soul sharing, that heart began to merge with Taiju's. This was not necessarily a bad thing, considering that he had been too weak to survive in the current world. Then, Quinta Eju made an unexpected request to the chief. "Please stay close to me during the hunt." The chief was confused by this, even considering the rumors about the team they were with. He did not understand the reason and questioned whether it would not be safer to stay close to the awakened rather than another powerless carrier. The protagonist insisted, asking the chief to take him seriously. The chief, however, had no idea what was really awaiting them on that mountain. Quinta Eju had felt for some time that there was something hidden in the depths. An intense, malicious intent was directed at them. The world of Mourinho was on fire. More precisely, the Zhuge clan One Ohm was arrogantly walking through the air. Above the flames, as his shadow fell over an old man with a long beard who no longer wielded a weapon, only held his injured arm. The old man was the patriarch of the Jugyong clan. He shouted furiously at the man before him, "What are you doing, Tangun? Have you gone mad to dare oppose us?" The man with long black hair blowing in the wind let out a sigh. "What a shame, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or should I call you the Demon of Thunder? In the air, surrounded by flying swords, Tangun declared, "It has already been revealed that you and your clan are conspiring with the dark cult." Jugyong desperately tried to find a justification to avoid being attacked by the blades. "We have been falsely accused. We are one of the 5 great clans. How could we do something like this?" Observing the followers of the cult persistently denying the truth, Quinta Aju threw something to the ground, something that would make Jugyong lose any argument. The old man looked at the object and began to tremble, desperately. Quinta Aju provoked him. "Shouldn't you greet your son?" Tangun then presented the accusations directly. "You have eliminated innocence and are gathering vital essence to create the dark blood pill. That is why I brought you here. Still, you insist on calling this a farce, Jugyong." The man fell silent. Tangun lightly moved his swords. "I hate people like you, those who use the weak as a shield to preserve their own lives." Jugyong trembled and begged for his life, offering to reveal everything he knew in exchange for safety. However, he ended the conversation. "That's enough. Countless members of the orthodox factions have died for no reason because of you." The swords aligned, pointing directly at Jugyong. Tangun's gaze sparkled as he gave the order, "Disappear." The swords advanced like relentless rain. With that, Jugi Cheon was eliminated. Tangunak then planned to soon eliminate the very celestial of darkness. Meanwhile, the group hunting with Quinta and Ju had gathered several blade tooth marks. One of the members commented, "Since we no longer have to worry about insect-proof clothing, even a group of Martas was no big deal." Anjum picked up the energy crystals and observed them greedily, mocking Quinta and Ju. "Hey, you asked earlier if we would, really go with this number of people. That answer is enough. A cowardly bastard like you will never stop being just a porter." Lord O had to contain Quinta and Ju, as the protagonist really contemplated eliminating that entire group to relieve his irritation. However, he decided to ignore the provocation. In any case, he believed that everyone there would end up being eliminated sooner or later, whether by his hands or for other reasons. The protagonist held back, as it would not be worth using the flying daggers on that group as the first target. After all, it was only thanks to his antidote that 2 beginners and 3 users with aptitude had been able to hunt a group of Martas. Still, he was already wondering if that group would be able to handle what was to come. Quinta and Ju frequently watched the bushes, awaiting that which should already be lurking. He approached Chief O and warned, "It will start soon. As I said when we set out, stay close to me." The chief porter, confused, asked, "What exactly is going to start?" The protagonist replied calmly, "Nothing much. Just something known to be difficult to deal with on Mount Gyre. An attacking magical beast." At that moment, a gigantic paw with sharp claws advanced. Eyes exuding crimson energy stared at the group of hunters. As sharp fangs and an elongated mouth prepared to tear into the target, the chief loader trembled upon recognizing the approaching monster and shouted, "It's a red-furred wolf!" The protagonist tried to calm him down, assuring him that nothing would happen, and handed over his backpack for him to hold. The chief was startled by the action, believing that the correct thing to do would be to flee. The red-furred wolf was a magical beast that required at least regular level to face. Its strength was already a major issue, but the most dangerous part was that they always moved in pairs, 1 male and 1 female. Soon, the second wolf appeared, attacking one of the team members. Anjum looked back and shouted upon seeing his companion being hit. The swordsman couldn't believe they were facing 2 wolves at the same time. He tried to quickly deal with one of them, striking energy blows with his sword, but the wolf, despite its large size, was extremely agile and dodged the attacks. Surprised and desperate, the hunter called out for his captain, Don Seok. "What will we do?" "Give the orders." However, when Don Seok was already fleeing through the forest, abandoning the group, one of the huntresses ran to Anjum, overtaken by fear. "Whoa, we are in danger. There are 2 wolves." Anjum told her to be quiet and replied coldly, "We will do as always, like last time. We will use those bastard loaders as bait and flee." The protagonist heard everything but remained silent. Next to him, the chief asked him to do something, as he couldn't trust him that way. Without hesitation, Quinta and Ju took a dagger hidden in his shirt. Using the art of the flying dagger with the single attack technique, he threw it in one direction. The blade flew at high speed, narrowly grazing Wonjun and continuing to Dong Seok, lightly hitting before embedding itself in a rock. The impact on the rock made the surrounding trees tremble with the roar. The loader was surprised by Taiju's action. The protagonist then looked to the other side and declared, "Have you abandoned the team you were supposed to protect? And the others are offering the weakest, us loaders, as bait?" The fury that Quinta and Ju had been suppressing finally overflowed. The venomous essence emanated from his body as he declared, "I hate guys like you more than anything, those who trample the weak, and use them as shields just to survive." With the impact of the previous attack, Dong-suk had fallen to the ground. Wonjun, in turn, had been grazed on the ear. It was then that Dong-seok noticed something even more frightening. One of the wolves had already been defeated, and he didn't even know when it happened. The chief looked at Taiju, stuttering, "Mr. Kim, I don't want to say Mr. Taiju, how did you defeat the wolf in a single attack?" The second wolf approached, sniffing its partner's body, and soon directed a fierce glance at the protagonist, growling low. Quinta and Ju stepped forward, enveloped in an intense, venomous aura. "Shut up. I'm really not in a good mood. If I need to take one more step, you won't leave here." The wolf hesitated. The presence of that human was too overwhelming to confront. Taiju's gaze then turned to Dong-seok's group, and he coldly questioned, "Let me ask something. Do you do this all the time? When things get dangerous, do you abandon the weakest and run away?" One, still arrogant, replied without hesitation, "So what? If we do this, it's natural for those weak to die for the awakened." The protagonist closed his eyes for a moment, letting out a faint sigh before making his decision. "Since that's the case, you should experience this too." In the blink of an eye, Quinta and Ju disappeared from where he was. Rising atop an elevation, he gave the order, "Fight." Dong-seok and Wonjun were shocked to hear that. Sitting on the edge of the ravine, Taiju continued, "I have already dealt with one of them for you. Now take care of the rest." Holding his injured ear, Dong-seok shouted indignantly, "What kind of absurdity is this? Do you think you can do this and get away with it after messing with the awakened?" One of the group members, clearly weaker, begged, "Please, defeat the monster for us. We will pay you." "Well, you are strong enough." Proud, Dong-seok did not allow it and told her to be quiet. At that moment, an arrow passed by the side of his other ear. Startled, he fell to the ground. The protagonist declared, visibly irritated, "Since you can't understand when someone speaks, maybe you don't need your ears." From above, he reinforced, "I will say it again. I am a carrier, and you are the fighters. Where did all that confidence you showed against the marks go?" The remaining wolf, now without a previous target, began to approach Dong-seok, observing everything from above. Quinta and Ju concluded coldly, "You all fight." Hearing someone order them to face the giant wolf, Wan refused. "Do you think we will follow what you say?" However, from the height where he was, Quinta and Ju realized that the creature itself already intended to force them to fight, regardless of their will. One gripped his sword with both hands, cursing Taiju, but before he could attack, the huge paw of the beast hit him directly in the face. His body remained standing for a brief moment, while the struck portion was tossed away like a leaf in the wind. Seeing his partner fall, Dong-seok shouted furiously, "I will finish you, you bastard!" However, before he could act, the wolf's fangs reached him. With a single attack, the red-furred wolf took down another hunter. The rest of the team fell into despair and tried to escape immediately, but the beast was faster. In the blink of an eye, it reached one of the members. The young huntress looked back with fear in her eyes, but met the same fate as Dong-seok. The creature's eyes glowed red, searching for the next target. Mr. O fell into despair upon realizing he was next. "Mr. Kim, the creature is coming for me." Noticing that the wolf would keep advancing, the protagonist clicked his tongue, annoyed. "If it had left, I would have spared it, but it seems confident after taking down the others." With no choice, he leaped from the cliff and gathered the poisonous essence in the palm of his hand. The attack descended upon the wolf, using the poison palm technique from the blood seal. The impact consumed everything around, hitting trees and rocks, and the resulting explosion lifted a pillar of energy that expanded into the sky. Chief O was completely astonished by the scene. He believed Taiju did not even possess an affinity for mana, but what he saw was the opposite. A thought crossed his mind. Was it not the mage who defeated the orcs this time, but Mr. Kim? He said it was her, so he lied to conceal his powers. Seeing Taiju walking calmly towards him, Mr. O felt anxious. If this is his power, what will he do to me? Before Taiju could even ask if he was okay, Chief O threw himself to the ground and pleaded, "Mr. Kim, please spare me." The protagonist scratched his head awkwardly. "Why would I do anything against you, Chief?" Mr. O was confused but also relieved. He quickly got up when Taiju asked, responding firmly when questioned about injuries. "I'm not, and even if I were, I would find a way." Relieved by the answer, Taiju then asked if he could ask a favor. The gentleman, he showed himself ready to meet any request with a meaningful look. "Fifth," Taiju began, "what did you just see today?" Before he could finish, the gentleman quickly responded, "But what happened today? I didn't see anything." They understood each other and began the return to the city, the bodies of the group of maidens left behind. Taiju imagined that the creatures, of the region would take care of that. After all, it hadn't been him who had eliminated them directly, and therefore he felt no guilt in leaving that dangerous situation behind. The protagonist made a silent vow. Whether as Tang Gunak or as myself, I will end those who use the weak as a shield merely to survive. They are all despicable, just like the Jude clan. Inside Guri Castle, there was a large modern building that served as a pharmaceutical headquarters. In a meeting room, an irritated man was banging on the table while saying, "Does this make any sense? Our sales have dropped by half. Damn Kim Tae-ju and the Beck Pharmacy." He continued blaming them since they started selling the antidote. People only go to Beck Pharmacy and buy other medicines while they are there. We are out of customers here. We should have put that little pharmacy out of business a long time ago. Onambak, the president of Segipyeong Drugstore, a man with a short beard and black hair, replied, "Do you think we don't know about the 200 pharmacies in Guri? We own 70% and Cheonwang Bio has the rest. Beck Pharmacy is the only one that no one has managed to take. You know the reason, don't you?" The man he was talking to, Lee Gil-ho, president of Nuri Drugstores in Guri, was showing irritation. "That committee prevented us from acting because Baek Hongpyo helps orphaned children. Reputation? We are tied hands." Nambok asked him to stop complaining and present a solution. As the two began to argue, a tall man with gray hair intervened to calm them down. "Please, why do you argue at every meeting?" It was the representative of pharmacies, YJ Jo-hun Seok, with a smile that concealed his intentions. He continued, "Let's stop beating around the bush and share our progress. Aren't we all in the same boat? We at YJ have failed." Lee Gil-ho and Nambok revealed that they had also failed to create a generic version of the drug. Upon hearing them, Hoon-sok added that the biochemist Cheon Wang had also failed. Still, Nambok remained confident that they would succeed soon. It was just a matter of time. However, Lee Gil-ho was not so sure and believed they might face great difficulties. Jo-hun Seok smiled slightly. "Well, we have no choice. I am worried about the committee, but let's act in our usual way." After so long, Lee Gil-ho understood and replied with a smile, "That is what I wanted to hear. The investigation is already concluded, right?" Confirming, Hun Seok pressed a button displaying the information of the person responsible for the drug. Kim Tae-ju, 29 years old, the eldest son of Brigadier General Kim Won-bang from the territory of Paju, discharged from military service as an officer. Nambok showed concern, imagining they might be dealing with someone untouchable, as the general was a great master. However, Jo-hun Seok reassured him, as there were more details. According to the information obtained in Paju, the father was a master, but the son was considered incompatible with mana. It was also revealed that he enlisted in the army after being kicked out of his home. His biological mother was no longer alive, and the current wife of General Honda Mitsui had 2 children and apparently did not look favorably upon the existence of Kim Tae-ju. Lee Gil-ho understood the situation, so he cut contact with the family, right? This gave even more confidence to Jo-hun Seok. "I'm thinking about meeting him personally, regardless of the agreement with Baek Hongpyo. If we offer more, we can secure the distribution rights." The man's eyes narrowed as he continued. "If he refuses, we will follow our usual methods. It has been a while since the last time." Late afternoon was approaching at the Magical Beast Defense Unit of the Imperial Army on Mount Gear, within the Samhan Empire. Someone knocked on the commander's office door and received permission to enter. The officer entered, saluted, and was immediately questioned. "Did you find what you asked for?" The man confirmed and delivered a folder. "Yes, we received the information from the Guri Committee. Kim Tae-ju, 29 years old, from Paju, was discharged as an officer from the Seorak Mountain Unit and is considered incompatible with mana." The commander analyzed the data, remembering having heard of the general's son before. Upon opening the document, he commented, "When the military previously requested a supply contract, we were refused due to a lack of stock because of the imperial decree. It is difficult to interfere in Guri, so we gave up. Fortunately, as he is the son of Brigadier General Kim and has military experience, this can be resolved without difficulties." He began to consider that if they could secure the supply of the antidote, it would be possible to carry out a large-scale operation before the next wave of creatures on Mount Geir. Thinking about the father-son relationship, the commander concluded, as long as he is not a deserter, the supply will be virtually guaranteed. Without hesitation, he gave the order, "Contact the Paju territory immediately. Tell them that I, Jin Hyung, wish to speak with Brigadier General Kim." It was already the next day. In the Paju territory, everything was going smoothly until a call was received. After the conversation with Jin Hyung, a woman present in Commander Kim's office commented, "Even an insect has its value, as they say. When did our Taiju learn all this? His body was so weak that we couldn't even send him to college." With an interested look, she was already grabbing her cell phone, planning to buy train tickets tickets for the girl immediately. Taiju has little social experience, and now that he has a lot of money, he might end up being deceived. Commander Kim, however, wanted something else. "Leave him alone!" The aura around him seemed heavy as he spoke. Honda Mitsui placed her hands on her hips, questioning what her husband meant by that. "King Wang Bang," she repeated firmly. "Let's leave him alone. He has already been removed from our family register and has gone his own way." The woman smiled, hiding her irritation, while trying to persuade him. "Oh, come on. The family register is one thing, but is it really so simple to break a blood bond? We need to help him." The general closed the matter directly. "That's enough. If you still have any conscience..." Mitsui was startled, as those words seemed to indicate that Wang Bang knew something she had done against Taiju. Shaking slightly, she thought to herself, "It doesn't matter if he knows. Jung Indong is no longer alive. There is no evidence." Even irritated, she insisted, "Then at least call him. Tell him to provide the antidote to the military. They said that if you convince him, they will help with your promotion." Slamming her hand on the table, she tried to pressure him. "How long do you think Kyucho will continue supporting Paju? They are also facing difficulties. The expenses for Taipyeong and Taichon are increasing, and their future Taiju is her only son." The general made his final decision. He would not intervene, as he knew he had already distanced himself from his son. "If you want, go and talk to him yourself. I have made my thoughts clear." Mitsui bit her lips, holding back her fury. Regaining her composure, she turned to leave and said, "Do what you want. I will do it my way." When leaving the room, she slammed the door hard. Hung Bang sighed as he was left alone. Since they had no contact for months, he had come to think that his son was no longer alive, but now he knew he was living well in Guri, following his own path. This at least brought him some relief. The market in Guri remained bustling as always. At the Flame Boutique, specializing in clothing, several suits were displayed in the window. Inside the store, the owner was adjusting a coat on her customer. Her calm gaze analyzed every detail as she said, "As expected, it looks perfect on you." Quinta and Ju thanked her. Coat made with materials from magical creatures is truly different. It is lightweight, yet still offers protection and even temperature control." He was impressed with all the features of the new piece. He particularly liked the gray color, less flashy, just as he had requested. Additionally, he was pleased with the inner pockets she had prepared, where he was already storing some daggers. The mage commented with curiosity, "I thought about this while making the adjustments, but seeing how many weapons you carry, you must be awake and focused on combat, right?" The protagonist partially confirmed, placing his hand in the coat to get his wallet. He explained that he could not accept such a valuable gift without paying. She insisted that he accept the coat as a gift, but Taiju did not agree. That material had been reserved for another customer, and he did not want to put her in a difficult situation. Remembering the other customer, the mage reassured him. If it's Miss Johnny-on, it's all fine. I arranged another item for Taiju." She thought for a moment and pointed to a shelf. Then, "Sell me everything that's there." The mage was surprised by the request, taking out a black card. He explained that it would be a gift for the children at the orphanage, and that it would also help her sales. Sounds like a good idea, right? In light of the insistence, she agreed, and asked him to wait while she wrapped the items for Taiju. She was very different from the other awakens he had met. At that moment, the boutique's door opened. A tall man entered and approached. "So, you are here, Mr. Kim? I've been looking for you for a while," introduced Joe Runsiok, CEO of pharmaceutical company IQJ, showing his business card. The protagonist looked at the card with suspicion. Noticing the reaction, the man put the card away and apologized for the discomfort. Taiju put his hands in his pockets and directly asked what he wanted and how he had managed to find him. With a calculated smile, Joe Runsiok replied, "There's not much the Pharmaceutical Association doesn't know." Getting straight to the point, his expression became more serious. "I would like to ask a favor. Sell the supply of antidotes to us as well." With a slight sigh, Taiju questioned whether that was a request or pressure. The man calmly responded, "For now, it's a request." Taiju immediately declined. The businessman tried to negotiate, offering to cover the contractual fine and pay 3 times the value of the products sold at Beck Pharmacy. Still, Taiju maintained his stance. "No, thank you. I don't want to become someone who can't be trusted." Hunseok insisted once more, asking for at least the formula of the medicine and offering 5 billion for it. Taiju replied with irony, "If I were in your place, I would sell for so little." The man gritted his teeth, annoyed. "You really don't understand. It's going to be hard to grow up like this." The protagonist remained unfazed. "Don't worry, I can take care of myself. Have a good trip." When the sorceress returned, she asked if anyone had been outside recently. Jo Hun-seok, visibly irritated, picked up his phone and made a call. "Start the operation. Do as usual. Around Guri, the construction of Kim Taeju's mansion was already underway. Carrying several bags, he greeted Chief Bayek with a smile. The pharmacist, holding a blueprint, asked what he had brought. Thanking him for his constant help, Taeju presented the packages. "I brought some clothes for the kids." The man got emotional, with watery eyes, holding back tears, and promised that he would never forget that gesture. Taeju scratched the back of his neck a bit awkwardly, but was pleased to see the reaction. Observing the construction around, he noticed that everything was progressing well. Remembering something, he commented, "I think I'm going to accept the proposal you made to me earlier." Chief Baek asked if he had finally made up his mind. Taeju confirmed, explaining that the meeting with the businessman had been decisive for his choice. Upon hearing the name Jo Hun Seok, Chief Bayek was surprised and asked, concerned, if something had happened. The protagonist denied it, mentioning only the pressure he had received. That made him remember once again how powerless people were treated. "Then I will open a pharmaceutical company as you suggested. Please continue helping me," revealing his plans. He asked Chief Bayek to continue being responsible for the construction, as he would be away for a while. Curious, the man asked if he intended to go far away. The protagonist denied it, simply explaining that while the company was being set up, he would focus on developing new medications. The art of the venomous spirit of shaped pants, the exclusive martial art created by Dang Gunak, is the strongest in the world of martial arts. It combines the basic mental cultivation method of the Dang clan, the cultivation of ki from the 5 elements, water, fire, wood, metal, and earth, along with the understanding of various martial arts, totaling 10 stars. After the 10th star, it is necessary to awaken the venomous spirit through enlightenment, and only those who reach this stage can use the secret technique Torrential Rain of 10,000 Petals, just like Tangunak, who defeated the celestial demon, ruler of the demon cult, with his venomous hands. Everything seemed peaceful in the magic beast zone of Mount Gyre, until a pillar of energy exploded towards the heavens. A man wearing a long coat jumped onto a beast with sharp claws and long ears. Releasing an intense venomous energy, he attacked the monster, which was several times larger than him. With a single movement, he pierced the creature's body and landed on the ground while the enemy was still falling. Quinta Eju eliminated another monster. He observed the result and sighed after an attack that hardly required effort. They call this beast a venomous claw lynx, but it is as large as a tiger. The skin is tough, but my weapons and internal energy are sufficient. Currently, Quinta Eju was at the 3rd star of the art of the venomous spirit, at a level equivalent to a martial artist between the 2nd and 1st category of Diangu. It was still a relatively low level, so he continued training on Mount Dire, absorbing poisons from magical creatures. When he opened the body of the lynx, he found a large poison pouch with the knowledge left by Dangunak. This cultivation process was like a review, as I had already understood the fundamentals. It was enough to keep absorbing new poisons to evolve rapidly. For a time, his body had been unable to withstand these toxins, which kept him stuck at the 3rd star. Now, however, his condition had stabilized, and advancing to the next stage no longer seemed impossible. Quinta Eju intended to absorb the poison from the venomous water deer, his next target, to reach the 4th star. Suddenly, he remembered something and started to search for his throwing dagger on the lynx's body. As they were expensive, he wanted to recover as many as possible after using them. The venomous water deer with spores was a docile and non-hostile magical beast, with 2 humps on its back, similar to those of a camel. The protagonist quickly advanced upon finding it. The danger of this creature lay in the fact that, when attacked, its humps exploded, releasing a powerful toxin in the form of spores. Quinta Eju observed small spheres of poison floating in the air. Upon touching one, he reflected, could this be the poison said to melt gas mask filters? It takes a whole hour to dissipate. When touched, the sphere dissolved and was absorbed by his body. As he had heard, it was one of the most potent poisons available, and he would not let such a resource go to waste. Moving quickly, he extended his hand, creating a strong suction force in his palm. All the toxins around began to be drawn toward him and absorbed by his body. He had to concentrate deeply not to collapse, condensing and controlling the venomous energy while assimilating it, using the art of venomous spirit to convert that toxin into internal energy. He sought to advance to the 4th star with his eyes closed. The 5th Eju felt time passing. He no longer knew how many hours had passed while he circulated. Within his own body, he had absorbed all the poison present, but the quantity was so large that converting it was not simple. In the midst of the process, he thought, have I gone too far? Still, As he perfectly understood the properties of the poison, developing an antidote seemed like a simple task. Besides the poison from the water servant, that world had even more varied toxins than the martial world, and he intended to use this to strengthen himself quickly. He did not want to be weak, like before. With determination, Taeju condensed a core of toxins within himself, finally reaching the 4th star. He felt the energy overflow throughout his body. As he stood up, he stretched lightly. He had spent so much time on Geyer Mountain that the sun was already setting behind the mountains. In addition to reaching the 4th star, he had also discovered the ingredients needed to create the antidote for the poisonous spore servant. With that, he questioned whether it was time to return. His staying away for too long made him restless, especially because of the pharmaceutical company J. It was already night when Taeju returned to Mr. Beck's pharmacy. He placed his backpack on the ground and started looking for the owner, finding him at the back of the store with the saleswoman. Observing the environment, he commented, "Since there are no items left, business must be going very well." Upon seeing him, Mr. Beck showed relief but also concern, revealing that he had not been able to contact him for half a month. The saleswoman also greeted him. Taeju apologized for having turned off his phone during training, explaining that he was focused on developing a new antidote. However, noticing the strange atmosphere, he asked if something had happened. The store was practically empty, with only boxes left. Mr. Beck explained that representatives from a pharmaceutical company had appeared, claiming they would no longer supply the product. And taking everything away with a worried expression, he added, "Moreover, today, the Drug Approval Department of the Autonomy Committee requested the list of ingredients to investigate possible side effects of the antidote." Quinta Aju immediately suspected that this was the work of Jun Seok. Mr. Bayek was not absolutely certain, but he recognized the pattern. It was the same method he used to employ, and furthermore, he was also part of the committee. Taeju then asked what would happen if they did not submit the list. According to Mr. Beck, they could face a sales ban. The protagonist considered the situation, questioning whether the Empire's representative was also ignoring this. The problem was that this was probably just the beginning. People like Joe Runsiak always went beyond expectations, just as had happened with Jugi Cheon. However, this time there would be no room for hesitation. Making his decision, Quinta Aju declared, "Let's act first. If they're going to pressure us, then let's respond for real." Chief Bayek was confused by these words. The protagonist then explained, "Yes, they say our antidote causes side effects, right? Then we shouldn't sell it. Let's close the shop right now." The main gate of the Bayek orphanage was closed, and inside, it was possible to see a light smoke rising. It came from a barbecue taking place on the premises. Several children were gathered with Mr. Bayek, sitting at an improvised table on the nearby soccer field. A large piece of meat was being grilled over a campfire. Upon tasting the meat, Taeju was almost surprised by the flavor. The venison was so tender that it seemed to melt in his mouth. He had never imagined that this would be the taste of venison, which was considered the finest meat in the empire. As there was no known method to remove the poison, rumors spread that the emperor had monopolized the rare carcasses discovered, making it impossible to acquire them for any amount of money. Upon tasting that flavor, Quinta and Ju felt extremely satisfied that he had chosen to develop the antidote for the servant first. Initially, his intention was merely to avoid losses caused by the venom of the water servant during outbreaks of magical beasts. But with a flavor like that, anyone who tasted the meat would inevitably want more. Everyone at the table enjoyed the meal, and he even considered the possibility of starting a business with deer meat. He also contemplated supplying it to the emperor, known for his obsession, and even taking a look at his fencing, reputed to be of grandmaster level. Mr. Beck cleared his throat, catching everyone's attention, and thanked Kim Taeju for the valuable meat. He never imagined that the new medication would be precisely the antidote for the poisonous water servant. Nevertheless, he expressed concern and asked if they would really be all right, closing the store without responding to the pressure they were under. Continuing to eat calmly, Quinta and Ju replied, "Trust me, we will see who will regret it more if we do not sell the antidote." A few days later, when he went to the Bike Park Insu pharmacy, he was surprised. It had been days, and they still had not opened. The warrior had only a few vials left, and wondered how he would continue hunting when they ran out. Nearby, a pair of hunters commented, "It seems the rumors are true. The antidote has side effects. Some people got sick after taking it, so the Autonomy Committee demanded that the formula be disclosed." Mr. Beck could not withstand the pressure and closed the store. Park Jinsu became irritated upon hearing this, as he knew it was a lie. He himself was proof that the antidote worked. About to confront those spreading the rumors, he was interrupted by a drawn sword. Lee Jung-hak held the weapon to stop him. Enough! I will not tolerate any chaos here. Upon seeing the vice captain of the surveillance group, rumors began to emerge that they were involved with the pharmaceutical YJ. The man in the black coat declared, "This is a decision from the permanent committee due to the alleged side effects of the antidote from Bayek Pharmacy. Sales are suspended until the formula analysis is completed, so all of you disperse. Do not stay here causing disorder." Park. Insu immediately protested, "This is absurd. I participated in the tests and I am perfectly fine. How are we supposed to hunt without the antidote? Do you want us to go back to wearing insect-repellent clothing?" People supported Jinsu's words, and the agitation in the area increased along with the complaints. Irritated, Lee Jung-hak sighed slightly, and his imposing gaze fell upon everyone there. "Since when did this kind of people start questioning my words?" He let out a longer sigh, clearly bothered, and ordered everyone to disperse. Internally, he complained, "That damn administrative staff forcing me to deal with these annoying tasks. If it weren't for the majority's decision." Gradually, people began to leave, but Park In-soo remained. Realizing someone was still there, Lee Jung-hak brought his hand to the sword and threatened, "You there, seems like you think my words are a joke. Do you really believe you have the strength to uphold this in the face of the threat?" Park In-soo eventually retreated hastily, fleeing with the shield on his back securing the sword, and Lee Jung-hak continued to complain. "What a nuisance! Why do I have to deal with this? I don't care who sells the medicine, but I will have to deal with that guy Jo Run-seok soon." On the same street, a luxury sedan was parked. Inside it, Jo Run-seok himself was on the phone with someone like Lee Jung-hak about control. "I, Jo Run-seok, am impressed." The administrative officer on the other end of the line. A voice calmly responded, "Even being a master, he is still just one of the 3 permanent members of the committee. As long as President Mim and I are here, he cannot go against the majority's decision. All he needs to do is maintain public order, as he is already doing." The person on the phone had a clear condition. As long as no life was at risk, President Mim would not interfere. Hun-seok showed satisfaction. "As you said, administrative officer, as long as the master remains quiet, this will be resolved soon." He then added, "We have already started the next phase. You will be well rewarded. They won't last even a week unless money falls from the sky." Meanwhile, a meeting was taking place in General Orjin Hyung's office, sitting in his armchair. The general showed interest. Quinta and Ju were in front of him, confirming an agreement. They would sell 1,000,000 vials to the defense body against magical beasts from Mount Dire. The price would remain at 50,000 each, totaling 50 billion. Upon hearing the amount, the general remained silent for a moment, slightly frowning. Taiju became worried, wondering if he might have gotten upset for not offering a military discount. The officer present in the room tried to reassure him. "The commander seems to be in a good mood." Jin Hyung then spoke. "Are you sure about this? You will probably have little profit selling at that price." The protagonist was surprised, as he was expecting exactly the opposite. Then, the general asked the aide if it would be possible to cover the amount with the military reserve fund. Upon receiving a positive response, he ordered, "Deposit half as an advance immediately." Before this could be done, Kim Tae-ju interrupted him, stating that he had another product to offer. The general showed surprise. "Aren't you just selling the antidote for mosquito venom?" Taiju explained that he intended to start his own company soon, and therefore would bring new products besides the medication. He pulled out a package and revealed a piece of freshly roasted meat. While the general was having tea, Taiju served the meat. Jim Hyung was surprised, as he did not expect that. Being presented as a new product, he still found it interesting since he had been reducing his consumption of red meat for health reasons. Taiju then explained, "You should present this meat to the emperor. He will certainly appreciate it. It is the meat of the water venom servant." The general's assistant widened his eyes. "Are you talking about that servant whose meat is said to have an exceptional flavor, with juices flowing like a fountain?" Taiju nodded, observing his actions. The commander began to evaluate him more closely, and then proposed, "I had been thinking about this, but you are a hard young man to find. Nowadays, the armed forces need people like you. What do you think? Are you considering enlisting again?" The Defense Corps of Magical Beasts of Mount Giri was located in the outermost region, even within the Samhan Empire. Its mission was to control the waves of magical beasts and maintain the balance of the population of these creatures. Jin Hyung had gone into despair when he was appointed commander of that area. Anyone in his position would feel the same. Even if he managed to contain the beasts at the border, that would be just the bare minimum expected. If he failed, all the responsibility would fall on him. However, finally, an opportunity had arisen. Now he was also considering the impact of the antidote for the water servant. An officer entered his office and announced, "The payment has been transferred. And the matter that you instructed us about has also been concluded." Then, it confirmed exactly as you predicted. "Commander, the reason they started negotiating with us is related to the conflict with the Pharmaceutical Association led by Jo Hung-seok. As for the daily newspaper, the exclusive report on the antidote contract and the hunt for the water servant will be published tomorrow. Jin Hyung praised the adjutant for the work and asked him to continue monitoring Thursday and assist him, whenever necessary, showing his appreciation. He stated, "You have worked hard helping me, even without connections." The officer was almost moved to hear that, having gone through hardships until then. Jin Hyung raised his voice at the adjutant. The officer promptly replied, "Yes, yes, Commander!" The general then hugged him and declared, "Let's seize this opportunity and move forward to the imperial family." Even surprised by the gesture, the adjutant responded with determination, "Yes, I understand, I trust you, and I will follow you." The shout of both echoed through the building, catching the attention of those passing through the corridors. In the outskirts of Guri City, Kim Taeju's residence had been completed. The 5-story building was located in an area with a garden and a beautiful view. On one of the floors, Taeju was meeting with Mr. Beck. The experienced entrepreneur explained that the company was practically ready. It just needed a name, and he would take care of the rest. One of the factors that facilitated the process was the contract with the military. Fortunately, the agreement was successfully concluded, and the lieutenant general even prepared the ground for us, saving effort. He also discreetly publicized our contract and the development of the new medication as an exclusive. As expected, he did not reach the position of commander by chance. The protagonist observed the newspaper with the report as he placed it on the table. He stated that we turned the situation to our favor. Then he asked, "You settled the loan with the down payment, right?" Mr. Beck confirmed that with the 25 billion wons received, all debts had been paid. He also revealed that out of resentment, he severed ties with the bank and closed his accounts. Taeju then asked that the remaining money be used to care for the orphanage. After everything that had happened, Kim Taeju acknowledged that he would not be able to run the company alone. He needed someone trustworthy by his side. Therefore, he made the proposal. "Mr. Beck, would you like to be my business partner?" The middle-aged man was surprised. Until then, he had only managed a small pharmacy and did not believe he could contribute much. However, Taeju was even more limited in that aspect. "I only know how to produce the medications. I don't know how to market them. I won't be able to do it without your help." Mr. Beck chuckled lightly, touched by the young man's confidence. He had received a lot of help from Taeju and never imagined he would be invited to collaborate in this way. Accepting the proposal, he asked how the profits would be divided, saying he would be satisfied with just 10%. However, Taeju, knowing that he managed the orphanage, wanted to offer a better share and proposed 30% to Mr. Beck. Mr. Beck thanked him, but revealed that he was just the owner of a pharmacy and had always relied on someone else to manage the business. He explained, "You've seen her once in front of the orphanage's vault, right? Baek Seo-yeon." Mr. Baek pointed out that she was the smartest among all his children and asked if he should call her immediately. Baek Seo-yoon had taken care of orphans for over 20 years until they integrated into society and possessed various qualities that made her exceptional. With a slight smile, Kim Taeju agreed. "A more capable person is even more welcome." The two shook hands, sealing the agreement. Then, the protagonist revealed that he had already thought of a name for the company. Tai from Taeju Hong, from Hong Pyu. Register as Tai Hong Pyu. Mr. Beck Hong Pyu accepted without caring about having his name involved, and said he would register it immediately. With that settled, he added, "Ah, right. I called the awakened and those compatible with mana who grew up in our orphanage." Taeju was surprised and asked why that had been done so suddenly. Mr. Beck explained that Jo Hun-seok was the type of person who resorted to force, which is why he had called those young people to act as fifth-rate bodyguards. And Ju, the protagonist, did not believe he needed protection. He asked that they be assigned to protect the orphanage. Instead, even so, Mr. Beck remained worried. Since Taeju did not have a visible mark on his face, he was not considered an awakened, at most someone compatible with mana. Remembering that the young man had said he was a former soldier, Mr. Beck wondered if he relied solely on those skills. Noticing the concern, Taeju commented, "You seem to not trust me. Again, we haven't built enough trust yet." The man quickly denied it. At the end of the conversation, the protagonist grabbed his trench coat and declared, "Let me clarify this once and for all. Please call everyone right now." Mr. Beck, still confused, asked the reason, and Taeju explained, "I want to prove my skills and test the antidote to the poison. I will go out for a little hunt with them." With a confident smile, he got ready. Shortly after, Quinta and Ju and the Awakened headed to the border area of Mount Gear, where magical beasts emerged. The protagonist walked ahead. Being followed by several people, one of them noticed everything he was wearing and commented, "That is the illusion fox leather coat that costs over 4 billion won. It's impressive." Although Taiju's gear was of the highest level, it did not have a visible brand, which led the man to assume that he was just a mana-adapted porter, or even an ordinary civilian. Advancing beyond that point would be dangerous. The man tried to stop him, saying, "Mr. Fifth, Taiju, from here on, magical beasts will start to appear. I will take the lead. Our father expressly asked that we protect you, Chief." The young man, worried, was Baek Chang-hun, a rank user awakened and swordsman. The protagonist calmly corrected him. "Just call me older brother." Chang-hun felt a bit uncomfortable as he imagined Taiju to be over 30 years old. Adjusting his way of speaking, he asked, "Please stay behind me. Even though this coat has high defense, it might restrict your movements during combat. And as any awakened, my ability to react to danger is better than yours, Hyung-nim." The protagonist stared at him in silence, which made Chang-hun realize that he might have been disrespectful. He quickly apologized for the words that might have caused discomfort. Taiju reassured him, saying that he was already used to this kind of situation. Then, he began to observe the surroundings carefully, while rummaging through the inner pockets of the overcoat. "Let's talk about this after we deal with that first." Chang-hun was confused, not understanding what he was referring to. It was then that dozens of monsters appeared around them. The wave of beasts was so great that their shadows covered the group. Baek Chang-hun, who was further ahead, was the first to react. In desperation, Martus of the Storm, the creature with 4 red eyes, leaped towards him, hunting in a group. Several of them advanced at the same time, surrounding them. Quickly, Baek Chang-hun prepared to draw his sword, while the other brother pulled out his weapon. However, with the markings so close, Chang-hun realized he wouldn't be able to react in time. His body trembled, gripped by fear. At that moment, Quinta and Ju slightly leaned forward, and, from within the overcoat, pulled out several nails, positioning each between his fingers. He threw them in the direction of the beasts, utilizing the eye explosion technique. The projectiles moved at an astonishing speed. Baek Chang-hun was completely surprised to see the attack. Individually, the blows were not extremely powerful, but since they were fired in groups of more than 20, the beasts were hit repeatedly, with no chance to react. The magical creatures, which even common awakened ones could not easily face, were eliminated in an instant before his eyes. After clearing the first group, the protagonist simply shook his hands as if nothing had happened. In front of a swarm of storm martas, he didn't even need to resort to his reusable daggers. Quinta and Ju could not face Lord Baek if any of his children were harmed. Therefore, to quickly eliminate the threats, he had prepared hidden weapons from the gang clan, such as pearflower needles, torrential rain, and iron nails. The problem was that, in large-scale attacks, more than 200 of these weapons were lost at once. Upon realizing how much he had used, Taiju even wondered how much money he had just spent in that single moment. Whenever this happened, he felt even more desire to reach the 7th star of the poison spirit art. Baek Chang-hun approached again, reflecting aloud. "I heard that masters can choose their facial markings. You are at that level. There is no other explanation." The protagonist replied that he was not an awakened one. And changing the subject, he stated that he would take the lead. From then on, Tiangram tried to stop him, reminding him of his father's instructions. He broke away, but Taiju moved ahead, while the young man grew increasingly intrigued by his true identity. The group advanced further into the forest until they encountered a servant with humps similar to those of a camel. The small creature, seemingly harmless, noticed their presence but did not flee, continuing to feed calmly. Chang-hun asked what Taiju intended to do upon seeing the venomous water servant. The protagonist smiled as he observed the animal's behavior. He knew it was dangerous and recognized that people avoided approaching it due to the poison. He then instructed the whole group to drink the antidote, explaining that all would be exposed to the toxin. The group was surprised by the order, somewhat apprehensive. Chang-hun recalled that the antidote for the servant was still in the testing phase, and wondered if they could really trust it. Still, he decided to trust. After all, they were on the same side as Lord Hanpyo. After witnessing the power of Kim Taeju, he resolved to demonstrate his own determination. Chang-hun drank the entire contents of the vial without hesitation. Taking the initiative, he advanced first and asked his brother to provide cover with the mana pistol. Firmly gripping his sword, he prepared to attack. The servant sensed the threat and went on alert, letting out a deafening scream that made everyone cover their ears. Even so, Chang-hun held firm and charged, leaping toward the target. Raising his sword, he delivered a powerful downward strike capable of splitting the enemy in half. The servant fell to the ground defeated. One of the Baek sisters immediately yelled, "The poison will be released, be careful!" From the creature's back, the 2 humps exploded, scattering various bubbles of poison into the air. Quinto and Ju watched the particles disperse. At first, he wasn't sure the group would trust him, but now it seemed everything was working as expected. Chang-hun brought his hand to his face, instinctively trying to protect himself. But when he realized he had ingested the antidote, the Taiju began to trust him. The rest of the group, who had also taken the antidote, showed that everyone was fine. Chang-hun let out a sigh of relief. The antidote really worked. The protagonist approached and asked, "Now do you trust me? With an antidote, hunting this servant becomes simple. Without the poison, they lose their biggest advantage." The entire orphanage group cheerfully thanked Quinto and Ju and apologized for not trusting him from the start. Heading toward the forest, the protagonist declared, "If there are no problems, let's continue the hunt." Before they moved on, he added, "You know how to prepare the meat, right? Prioritize the water servant. When the antidote is released, this creature might disappear quickly." Meanwhile, in the Empire's capital, Samhan Nova, the headquarters of the Miranai group, caught attention. In an office, a man addressed a staff member. Manager Baek Seo-yoon, manager of the Planning and Strategy Department, responded to the call of Vice Leader Jong Ju-hak, deputy department head. He got straight to the point. "I'll be direct. You grew up in Mr. Baek's orphanage, didn't you? Under Baek Hong Pil's care?" Confused upon hearing her father's name, Baek Seo-yoon asked what this was about. After confirming the information, the man smiled discreetly and ordered, "Stop all ongoing projects." The young woman didn't understand the reason for the decision, so Hak explained, "Go to Guri and do a job for me. I'm counting on you." Approaching the maid, the Hak showed her a newspaper. "Didn't you see the news about the new company, Tai Hong?" Wondering why the boss was acting strangely, she followed his line of reasoning. "Are you talking about the company that created the antidote for the water poison?" "Yes, I read the news." The Hak became more aggressive in his questioning, asking why she pretended not to know, since rumors said that Baek's drugstore was a subsidiary of the Tai Hong Biology Company. The frail Mr. Oyan stated that he had never heard of anything like that. The Hak did not care and ordered her, "Anyway, go to the girl right now and stay close to your father. Find out information about the antidote, secure the formula. Also, you know who I serve, right?" He tried to bribe her. "If you can do this properly, things will change for the better for you too." Seeing the man trying to make her betray her own father, Mr. Oyan was about to give him a fitting response when he was interrupted by a call. Mr. Beck was the one calling her. Seo-yoon asked permission from Doo-hak to answer the call. He told her to decide quickly. After the call, Seo-yoon did not hear what her father had to say while the manager waited for her beside him. A slight smile appeared on the young woman's face as she ended the call. "I understand, Dad. Take care of yourself." Seeing how long the call took, Jeon Jirak demanded an answer. Seo-yoon stood up, warning, "Yes, I will go." The girl, Jo Hak, was quite excited about the news. He wanted to discuss the details with her immediately, but Mr. Oyan snatched his badge and threw it at him. "I am going there, but it is because I am leaving this cursed company." With a smile on her face, she resigned. Mr. Oyan passed by the manager while mocking. "It was quite annoying how you always look down on people, despite being so short, instead of worrying about antidotes. Perhaps you should be concerned about baldness medication." Being mocked by the maid, Jiraki became furious, but in response, he only received a middle finger. In Building 5, Iju, even late at night, a group was still taking care of the stock. The protagonist congratulated everyone on the work and received the same treatment from Baek Chang-hun. The protagonist then asked them to return to the orphanage to rest. He would take care of the rest himself. Chan Rum became worried as their father had told them to escort Quinta. Aju, crossing his arms and exhaling a slight sigh, the protagonist asked if he really thought it was necessary. It was much better for the hunter to be protecting the director and the children instead of this. Chang E-hum obeyed Quinta Aju's command and called the others to leave. However, Quinta Aju knew that the orphanage would be safe. No one would dare touch the only orphanage in Gurye, provoking the fury of the citizens. However, there were still many crazy bastards in the world, especially in Guri. That is why Quinta Aju wanted trustworthy people close to him. Once the company was organized and established, and they hired enough people to process the antidote ingredients, the protagonist planned to seek out some free time to develop his medicines. Before, Quinta Aju only wanted to make a profit, but things had become bigger than expected. But earning more was not a bad thing. Thanks to that, he was able to buy a good place. Arriving on the 5th floor from the elevator, Quinta Aju encountered a spacious floor. This was his new home. The feeling was a bit strange for him. He thought he would perish in Paju after being born as a reject of Mana, but by clinging to life, he was still chased and taken to the army by his own stepmother after awakening. With the help of the soul sharing he did with Tanganek, he had moved to Guri, lived as a carrier, and developed antidotes. Among all these profits that Taiju obtained, the greatest was, in fact, regarding people. Lying on the big bed, he was able to relax after so much turmoil in such a short time. Guri would be his starting point, a foundation for him to take pride in being independent. As Quinta and Ju prepared to sleep, some people invaded the grounds of his property. Ma Sang-chik, head of Wei, the villain union of Guri, questioned his subordinate. "Is this Kim Taiju's building?" The man in the leather jacket felt envy upon seeing the building. A newcomer in the city had already come to such a point. The subordinate tried to explain the reason for so much profit. "It's because the mosquito antidote was a huge success. I heard that the antidote for the water servant will also be released soon. The boss of the thugs ordered him to shut up, already knowing all the information." He clenched his teeth, irritated. "Ah, what a waste. If it weren't for Jo Hun Seok's request, I would have kept this formula for myself." The thug tried to alert his boss, who already knew, and waved him to be silent. I know. We can't be without the supplies that Boss Joe gives us. Let's do what he says." The two entered the building. Ma Sang-chik used a small spatula to unlock the door. They climbed up the stairs using a flashlight. With a large group of thugs, they reached a main door. The leader of the thugs instructed, "As soon as we enter, don't speak to him. Just insert the syringe immediately. As soon as he feels the effect of the tranquilizer, his eyes will roll back, and we can quietly put him in the car." The door was opened, and one of the thugs, carrying a large syringe, entered the residence silently. He approached Quinta and Ju, who were sleeping, and he raised his hand to stab him all at once. The attack came down quickly, but was blocked when Quinta and Ju grabbed the bandit's arm. His hand tightened around his wrist, and his eyes revealed his fury. "I was wondering if you really thought you could attack me with this." The bandit, unable to back down, cursed, "Damn, that bastard was awake!" But Sang-chik questioned his subordinate with the scar on his eye. "What are you doing? Just stick it to him already." The bandit, however, revealed to his boss that he couldn't move. Suddenly, the bandit, who was held by Quinta and Ju, noticed that his target had disappeared. As he looked side to side, the protagonist's voice sounded mysteriously, "I knew you were here from the beginning." The syringe also disappeared from the bandit's hand. Quinta and Ju appeared in the middle of the room holding it. "I had forgotten that I hate needles. They hurt, you know?" The bandit who tried to attack Quinta and Ju became desperate. "Boss, are you sure this guy was a reject?" Twirling the syringe between his fingers, the protagonist asked sarcastically, "Will the effects be milder if I just drink the contents?" But Sang-chik trembled with rage at being mocked. "You little worm! You've completely lost your mind stealing my sleeping drug and daring to go against a user like me!" The bandit leader was surprised, however, as Quinta and Ju actually poured the liquid from the syringe into his mouth. He threw the empty syringe on the floor and, glaring at them maliciously, asked, "The effect of it is very good. Do you have more drugs?" There were rumors that there was a syndicate in the alleys of Guri distributing them, as even the autonomy committee couldn't stop them. Someone influential in Guri must have been supporting them, and those very substances were right in front of Quinta and Ju. Now those substances were also a kind of poison with properties he had never tasted before. In the fourth star of the art of poisonous spirit, Taiju's body can easily handle substances like these. At the time the supreme poisonous lord Tang-gun AC roamed the martial world, he encountered all kinds of drugs, such as poppy, fantasy pills, and paradise incense. Having the memories of Tang-gun AC, Quinta Ju also produced them. His hand touched the head of one of the bandits, and the toxin in his body began to move. Quinta Ju absorbed it to strengthen his poisonous essence. The leader of the bandits trembled at what Quinta Ju was doing. The protagonist would not reveal his secrets, but would make them reveal theirs. "Now it's your turn. Tell me who ordered you to come here." But Sanchik desperately tried to hide the information, knowing he would be eliminated by such a person if he revealed his identity. As this man did not want to answer him, Quinta Ju would simply need to make one of the other subordinates do it. The poisonous essence was released from the protagonist's body. Its strong light dazzled the entire floor, while the desperate scream of the bandit echoed throughout the building. The next day, several black cars lined up along the avenue cutting through the city. Inside, one of the cars was Lee Dong-hak, who questioned, "So who reported this?" It was Kim Tae-ju, the guy behind the antidote for mosquito poison. A woman in the front seat confirmed the information. "I heard that the Sheik blood gang was caught breaking into your house and trying to take you with them, as they discovered the mentor and have the evidence. They are asking the group of vigilantes to take them away and conduct a complete investigation to prove our reliability." Lee Jung-hak knew the trouble he had gotten himself into, as the bandits were connected to Jun Seok. Quinta Ju is a newcomer who is not in Guri. A long time ago, it was fine if they attacked him, but the problem was Bayek, who broke away. He was too respected. Involving Zhou Runseok and forcing an agreement would be the quickest way, but there was no way that narrow-eyed bastard would agree to it. Silently, it was clear to Lee Jung-hak that the conflict would drag on. As an investigation request had been made, it would be a big problem for the Watchers too. Looking at the building he was heading to, he wondered if that was the only method to solve the issue. In front of the building, Quinta and Ju, he and Mr. Beck held the 4 intruders on their knees before them, but Sang-chik was drooling, his white eyes in a state of withdrawal. The trio, led by Lee Jung-hak, entered the property. Mr. Beck welcomed them with open arms. "You arrived quickly, Master Lee and members of the watchdog group." Lee Jung-hak, with a furrowed brow, passed by him, telling him to step aside. He headed towards Ma Sang-chik while one of his subordinates moved Mr. Beck away. Suddenly, Lee Jung-hak drew his sword and attacked. "By the authority granted to me by the Emperor, I will execute your sentence." A dagger met Lee Jung-hak's sword, blocking the attack. The protagonist got involved in the matter. "Stop there! Why are you trying to eliminate the witness with a cell phone in hand?" Quinta and Ju showed the main evidence. A video of Ma Sang-chik confessing. It was Jo Hoon-seok and that idiot from the pharmaceutical company. "He is the one who told us to kidnap him." The protagonist went straight to his accusation. "Judging by the situation, it seems you already knew everything." Lee Jung-hak gritted his teeth at being confronted. "Who are you?" In front of him, the protagonist introduced himself. Upon hearing the name Quinta and Ju, Lee Jung-hak realized it was he who made the antidote. Realizing something, Lee Jung-hak approached Chin Tae-yoon. Looking closely, he realized that he had seen his face before. The security leader remembered. This was the loader he had met a few months ago. Understanding the situation, Lee Jung-hak asked if he was the one who had made the antidote. Putting away the phone with the evidence he had shown, Chin Tae-yoon confirmed. Lee Jung-hak sighed slightly, and a smile appeared on his lips. Just like energies of lightning overflowing from his body, his arrogant voice warned, "This should be a big deal here in Guri. What I say is law." Speaking about the 4 captured bandits, Lee Jung-hak was straightforward. "Here in Taiju, I will make you one last offer. How about we just eliminate them once and for all?" Chin Tae-yoon declined the offer, even while listening to him. Lee Jung-hak attacked. "If you refuse, try to stop me." Irritatedly flicking his tongue, the protagonist drew several flying daggers from his inner pockets, launching them at the swordsman. Lee Jung-hak halted his attack upon sensing the approaching danger. He dodged the strike, delivering multiple slashing attacks from various angles, blocking the daggers. He understood a bit more. "So it was you who captured these guys." Seeing his hand wounded by one of the daggers, Lee Jung-hak stopped holding back. "It seems you have some ability. In that case, for the crime of interfering with a master twice, I sentence you." The protagonist was not intimidated and scoffed. "A master? Is that all? I'm genuinely curious. Exactly what gives the guild master the confidence to act this way?" In the midst of his words, Chin Tae-yoon was surprised by a swift strike. He had to use the ghost steps to jump as high as possible, escaping the slicing blow. Several flying daggers were controlled by him, ready to retaliate against the attack. Lee Jung-hak was already channeling the lightning. From his skill at the tip of the sword, before the confrontation happened, a helicopter approached and one passenger shouted from it to the skies, "Stop!" 4 men jumped from the helicopter and landed on the ground as if it were child's play. Commander Jin Hyung smiled at the corner of his mouth while observing the situation. "Hey, Lee Jung-hak, you better stop." The 4 army members prevented the confrontation from continuing. The commander addressed Lee Jung-hak. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" The man confronted him. "What are you doing here in the Free City?" The army commander provocatively replied, "I don't have permission to come here." This infuriated the head of security. "I will interpret this as military interference in the affairs of Guri," Jin Hyung joked with him, stating he wasn't there as a soldier. "Today I am here only as the civilian called Odin." Hyung, waving at Jung-hak, stepped aside. "Let's go our separate ways and mind our own business." Lee Jung-hak could do nothing but get angry. The army commander finally approached Quinta and Ju and greeted them while showing concern. "Did you get hurt?" The protagonist assured that he was fine and shook his hand. Surprisingly, Kim Tae-ju heard a request. "Who did this?" "Just gave us a name from the 3 muscular companions of Commander Jin Hyung. The one in front was Gu Jung-hyung, division commander and general. I, Gu Jung-young, will handle this for you. You are the one who provides the antidotes to the army. We cannot allow you to suffer bad treatment." Next to him, another division commander, Park Pil-song, agreed. "I will send some off-duty officers to be your bodyguards." The An of Atai, another general, also wanted to help. Should I prepare some restorative medicine for him?" Seeing Quinta and Ju laughing while interacting with the army generals, Lee Jung-hak, worried, wondered if he had met them through his father. The four were ranked master. Besides being from the military, they shouldn't be the type to talk to just anyone. Lee Jung-hak saw no choice but to back down, but he swore internally that he would repay the humiliation he suffered. Jin Hyung would not allow him to escape. "Are you leaving already? Why don't you stay a little longer?" The man turned around irritably. "I'm not a free person like you guys." Jin Hyung smiled provocatively. "Oh, how unexpected!" Provoked by the taunt, Lee Dong-hak questioned what he meant. The general pointed at the four handcuffed men. "If you're so busy, you should have taken care of that trash in Guri a long time ago. If it's too much for the watch group to handle alone, should I send reinforcements?" Rejecting the offer, Lee Jung-hak tried to leave quickly and ordered his subordinates, "Gather all the bastards from the Sheik blood gang. We will come back and deal with them." Jin Hyung would not allow such a thing. "Stay there. They will come with me." Lydium Hawk could not leave them behind. "I thought you said the military wouldn't get involved." Stepping closer, he stared the general down from a step away. "What are you planning?" With a calm smile, the general replied, "What do you think? These guys tried to kidnap a close friend of mine. Do you expect me to simply ignore it when I know about it?" Hostility rose between the two groups, with Lee Jung-hak warning, "This is clearly a violation of the imperial decree." Jin Hyung didn't care. His energy was released arrogantly, pressing the man in front of him. "Do you think I'm joking? Do you think you can defeat me just because we're both ranked master?" The younger man was surprised by the aura. There were no lies or hesitations in Jin Hyung's words. "If I take you down here, what kind of punishment? Do you think the emperor will give it to me?" Lee Jung-hak even trembled in front of the energy before him and tried to use the threat to get out of that situation. "Do you think you will get away with this?" The other three generals surrounded him, laughing mockingly. "Get away unscathed? Look closely, do you think we wouldn't dare to touch you?" The two members of Lee Jung-hak's team didn't have the confidence to fight against the three master-rank generals. Lee Jung-hak also couldn't confront them. He had to give up. "Guys, go back to the car. We're leaving." While driving them away, Commander Jin Hyung snorted. That kid was too spoiled, just a brat. The protagonist approached him, thanking him for the help. It had been so easy that Jin Hyung was even laughing. Mr. Baek eventually approached, addressing the general. "I contacted you at the last minute, so I thank you for coming immediately." Recognizing Mr. Baek, the general thanked him for being called to prevent a disaster. Quinta and Ju also thanked Chief Baek for calling the general. In the end, they also hadn't lost possession of the four bandits. Getting to the point, General Jin Hyung requested permission to deal with them. Quinta and Ju didn't want to worry him. However, this was a personal matter for him. But the general of Mount Giri insisted, "This is not just your problem. What if these guys end up causing an interruption in the production of the antidote? The safety of our entire war body is at stake." The general warned that he would resolve all pending issues so that Taiju wouldn't have to get involved with Lee Jung-hak anymore. The protagonist thought about the man in question, remembering that Jung-hak had definitely been hit by his blade. He wondered if the 4-star poison was still ineffective against someone of master class. He hadn't shown any symptoms until the end of the fight. If the lieutenant general hadn't intervened, things might have gotten complicated. Quinta and Ju questioned themselves, would I have been able to win in this situation? The confrontation made him certain that he needed to become stronger so that something like this would never happen again. Inside the car, however, Lee Jung-hak was cursing. Quinta and Ju, his hand was unexpectedly glowing in the spot where he had been hit earlier. Worried, he wondered if it was poison. Suddenly, all the poison began to spread through his veins, glowing incandescently. Lee Jung-hak was sweating, even though it wasn't hot. His expression of agony was getting worse. He tried to hold his wrist so the poison wouldn't spread, but it was too late. The substance was already all over his body. His incredulous gaze wondered what it was. One of the awakened members of Lee Jung-hak's team noticed that there was something strange with his master. Lee Jung-hak desperately shouted, "Get to the hospital, quick!" The car accelerated to its maximum speed on the bridge that connected the remote area of the city to the city center. Lee Jung-hak felt his body becoming weaker, the poison consuming him. He could no longer understand what Quinta and Ju had done to him. A military helicopter flew over the area. From the dire mountain fighter, inside the helicopter, some men were trembling in fear, but Sangechike was somehow trying to convince the military to let him go. "I have already said everything I knew, obtaining all the information I needed." Jin Hyung ordered one of his subordinates. "Jun-tai!" The soldier got up and headed for the side door of the helicopter. With the door open, it was possible to feel the air pressure trying to pull them out of the aircraft. General Jin Hyung commanded, "Now, throw them out one by one." The bandits cried, begging to be spared their lives, but seconds later, all they could hear were the final screams of the four. He gathered and cleaned his hands, finishing putting the trash outside. The general moderately praised his good work and ordered, "Deal with Jo Hun-seok also," to the other two. The general ordered that some troops be sent to assist Tai Hong. Jin Hyung did not want to miss this opportunity. He wanted to establish a connection with Kim Tae-ju. Definitely a young woman with short hair had just gotten off at the city station. She received a call from Baek Chang-hun, her orphanage brother, confirming he was at the terminal. Soo-young asked about the news. While they talked, she was surprised, as Chang-hun was telling her some unexpected things. "Yeah, I'm telling you. He even donated billions to the orphanage. He has also made the antidote." Soo-yeon was quite impressed. When she last saw Tae-ju, she thought he was just a con artist. As soon as she got into a taxi, she said goodbye. "See you at home." She then asked the driver to take her to the orphanage. There was a reason why Soo-yeon had been called back to the city by her father. It didn't take long for Soo-yeon to arrive at the destination. In the recreational area of the orphanage, a large pot was being heated around. Dozens of children were playing happily. Baek Hong-pyu was excited to hear a young woman calling him father. "Oh, you arrived." Soo-yeon smiled in a way different from any other moment. "Of course I would come when my father calls me." Thanking him, she called him to see something. Seeing the large pot, Soo-yeon asked if they were having a special day. "The meat that is cooking is special, according to Mr. Beck. Look, we caught a water-poisoned deer, so we are throwing a party." Soo-yeon was quite shocked. Knowing how dangerous the flesh of such servants was, made her realize that Chang-hun was speaking the truth. Her father confirmed it. "That's right, that's why we are eating meat." Now he took her to where Quinta and Ju were. Mr. Beck wanted to introduce him to his daughter. Quinta and Ju were next to a table with a large pot in front. There was a line of children from whom he was serving soup with meat. "It's hot, so eat slowly, okay?" When they reached Quinta and Ju, Mr. Beck introduced his daughter, CEO Ion, to Vela. The protagonist greeted her. "Nice to reveal, we have met before, right?" He remembered when they met after he made some antidote boxes. Mr. Oyao smiled gently. "Oh, so you remember. I'm sorry for being rude. I'm looking forward to working with you now," she assured him. "I will make sure to raise Tyron properly, making him feel safe." Quinta and Ju thanked her. At that moment, a group of leather boots arrived at the orphanage. The sound of dozens of footsteps caught Quinta and Ju's attention. A man in a military suit saluted, introducing himself. "Attention, Major of Minsu," and 19 others introduced themselves. "We have been assigned to the security of Tai Hong Bio." The protagonist extended his hand to greet him, thanking him for his presence, but spoke with regret. "With so many people, we may not have enough places to accommodate everyone." Major Minsu smiled, asking him not to worry, as they had also brought camping equipment. The two shook hands, assuring each other that they were looking forward to working together. The Major promised that he would risk his life as long as he could protect him. With the Major so willing, Quinta and Ju wanted to seal such a friendship. "Let's start with a servant water soup." Major Minsu's eyes shone at hearing this, and he immediately ordered his men. "Did you hear? Unload the materials immediately, and they will eat while seeing how many people were present around them." Quinta and Ju realized they were no longer alone. He now had a faction for himself in the castle of Guri City. Several high-ranking government officials gathered. There was also the meeting room of the Autonomous Committee. Accusations were directed at a table: price fixing of pharmaceuticals, extortion of small and medium pharmacies, and lobbying in financial institutions. "Do you admit these accusations, Jo Hun-seok?" Rane was forced to admit. Leaving after the trial, he cursed inwardly. "Damn it! You accepted my money gladly and now you are discarding me." Thus, he could no longer hire Sangwe Chiki, and Quinta and Ju were still alive. He furiously questioned where things had gone wrong. There was no other way out now. Getting into the car, Jo Runseok hit the road. During the night, he wanted to hide for a while. The car sped quickly until it reached a red traffic light. As he stopped to wait, Hunseok saw a motorcycle approaching. The motorcyclist, dressed in leather, suddenly broke the car's window. Pharmacist Hunseok was attacked before he could see. The car was dragged to a cliff. Below it, a lake. When the car fell, the motorcyclist contacted his leader, who ordered, "Mission complete, return to base." Meanwhile, in a hospital bed, Lee Jung-hak writhed. He felt extreme pain in his body, to the point of not being able to get up. One of his team members entered the room carrying a briefcase. "Guild leader, I got it." From the briefcase, he took out a small square box. Inside was a high-grade elixir made by the pharmaceutical company Miranai. Lydium Hack's veins were already completely swollen. His eyes surrounded by black spots with a dry mouth, he begged quickly, "Give it to me!" From the box, he took out a golden elixir and quickly threw it into his mouth. The energy in the elixir caused a whirlwind inside the body of the awakened one, purifying the poison that was affecting him. Lindong Hak felt greatly relieved. The elixir had worked, demonstrating the value of what cost 10 billion won. However, his happiness did not last long. Something inside him exploded. The effect of the elixir was diluted, and the effect of the poison attacked him once again. With the corners of his mouth dripping a bright red, young Hak's eyes rolled back as he murmured, "Quinta and Ju, you bastard!" The protagonist had gone again to the forest of Mount Gear. With the entry of Bayek Seoyan, the company was slowly starting to take shape. The problem was that the variety of medicines the company sold was very small, and that is why he was venturing into the depths of Mount Gear. This time, he wanted to try making a new medicine with the gallbladder of the giant moon bear. Of course, he needed to find new poisons for the poisonous spiritual art. While on the hunt, it had not been long since he reached the 4th star, but also, having consumed a large amount of spore poison recently, he was already close to reaching the 5th star. As he walked through the forest, he noticed something on one of the trees. There seemed to be red sap dripping. This was a poisonous sap tree. It exudes toxic sap from its bark to fend off pests that gnaw at its trunk. Rubbing his finger on the toxin, he brought it to his mouth. Unexpectedly, the poison was sweet, a taste that only he could discern. He also found a blue-bellied and fire-bellied toad. There was poison on the blue part of its belly. Such poison had anesthetic properties, so he decided to collect it for research. Taking the frog, Quinta and Ju planned to put it in his pouch. Advancing a bit further, he ended up encountering a giant white tree centipede. The centipede coiled around his arm, being larger than some snakes. Its venom potential was equally astonishing. Such venom could even take down orcs in a single dose. The centipede ended up biting Quinta and Ju's hand, and a black poison began to spread, being absorbed by his body. The protagonist suddenly heard a noise coming from the jungle. Among the bushes, he saw a luminous V mark. An enraged gaze with horns appeared, approaching through the leaves. Quinta and Ju had finally found what was the giant bear of the moon, a beast with thorny horns on its back and a golden mark on its chest. The bear, upon seeing him, roared fiercely, its voice echoing through the forest. Having encountered the bear earlier than he imagined, Kim Taeju wondered if he should test how strong it was, pulling out a few throwing daggers. The protagonist threw them at the bear. The giant beast was not slow. With its large paw, it blocked the attack. Quinta and Ju realized how fast the beast was. Having been attacked, the bear became even more furious, its wild instincts coming to the surface. Against the bear, Quinta and Ju tried to run around it with explosive steps, throwing daggers at it. Several daggers were embedded in the bear's back, which didn't seem to feel the damage done at all. The skin on the bear's back was extremely thick. It moved slightly, and the daggers that were stuck there were freed onto the ground. Quinta and Ju did not stay still. He used the poisonous palm of the blood seal, hitting the bear on the side of the belly. The beast was not affected by the attack and counterattacked with a claw strike, but luckily, Quinta and Ju managed to dodge. The bear's attack ended up only hitting a tree. Destroying the using steps, Ghost, Quinta, and Ju attacked again. The daggers were spent at a rapid pace, as they were constantly thrown during the pursuit. The attacks of Quinta and Ju were not working, and he realized that the moon bear was extremely powerful, more than he expected. It would be difficult to defeat him only with the strength of the spiritual art of poison at the 4th star. Slightly panting from exhaustion, Quinta and Ju knew, "I have no choice but to become stronger." The protagonist opened his small bag and took out the blue-bellied frog, bringing it to his mouth. Just like the frog, he did the same with the centipede, devouring them to consume their toxins. The poisonous energy began to rise through the meridians like waves. Quinta and Ju hoped to be able to transform it into his poisonous essence. Quinta and Ju's eyes shone with a slight greenish hue. Quinta and Ju laughed fervently. He had finally reached the 5th star of the spiritual art of poison, without primordial form. His eyes showed the certainty that he had that everything would be different from then on. From another inner pocket, Quinta and Ju took a different weapon, an iron butterfly that he controlled with the poisons. The two butterflies flew toward the moon bear. The butterflies dodged the bear's claws. They were a hidden weapon art that could only be used upon reaching the 5th star of the poison spirit art. It allowed freely altering the trajectory of hidden weapons using internal energy. The butterflies aimed for the bear's eyes. The beast had no chance to dodge or block without understanding the nature of the attacks. With the bear completely blinded, Quinta and Ju became confident to finally defeat him. The internal wounds inflicted on the bear caused him to fall. Both of Quinta and Ju's goals were accomplished at the same time. He reached the 5th star and hunted the moon bear. With the hunt completed, which bored him, he planned to leave. However, he was going to collect the bear's poison pouch. The pouch was golden, contrasting with the beast's black fur. The protagonist felt that the poison was definitely powerful. To extract it from the pouch without ruining it, he needed to envelop it first with energy. Quinta is Jew. He did so, and soon absorbed all the poisonous energy. With this, he would now be able to make an elixir. Now it was time to go back.